Hello everybody and welcome back for another video. I liked the last one so much I thought I would do another. Um, but one thing I noticed, first I'm just going to go to load game here. We briefly talked about that at the end of the last one. And that's just a way to, resume your progress. And so I'm going to go ahead and pick up where we left off here on file 1. It says start playing using this data, and I go to yes. So one thing I noticed when I was recording, not recording, but when I was reviewing the last video, my recording of it, is that I didn't leave very many opportunities for you to practice the breathing meditation that I was talking about. So I was kind of caught up in the energy of everything, and my mind was going, pretty quick from topic to topic, and I wasn't following my own advice. I wasn't practicing my breathing. So, what I'm going to try to do with this video a little bit is add more pauses instead of running straight from, thought to thought and just having a stream of words going out of my mouth constantly. I'll try to follow my own advice, focus on my own breathing a little bit, and, hopefully that will give you some more opportunities to practice some of that yourself. So, it's like we just got in a random battle here. And so, but actually there was a lot of things that I didn't have a chance to talk about that, from the first video. Even though it went on for a while, there's still a lot more to cover about this game, even that would be considered the basics, so I felt like another video was pretty warranted. And so here we have some new enemies in this desert area, and we saw lots of very... okay, so that was an interesting attack there. It was an ability, you saw because it said earthquake up on the top of the screen there. And so this Hundlegs enemy here, instead of using their normal attack right there, they actually use an ability or a skill. So it's like Cecil's using his darkness ability. Well, this particular enemy has that earthquake attack, and you saw it did a pretty good amount of damage to Cecil's HP. So some enemies will be stronger, and you also notice too that this opponent did not get defeated in a single one of Cecil's attacks, so it has a little bit more hit points than some of the weaker enemies. So this one's a little more trouble, in other words, to deal with than some of the others. Let's see, now that's 2 attacks from Cecil, and it's still not defeated. It's a normal attack. You saw it's only doing 1 HP of damage, so that's kind of interesting because they don't usually make that big of an imbalance. So its normal attack is very weak, but when it does that earthquake ability, then it does a lot of damage. So that's just some different way to approach the design of it. So it takes about 3 hits, we've learned here. Okay, now you'll remember from the previous video, when there was 2 characters in the party, the experience was split between them evenly. And so if there was more than that, I think that's how that's just going to work, that the experience that's shown on this screen is divided evenly between however many characters are in the party. But since right now it's just Cecil, he got all 153 of that experience, so he's already close to leveling up again, because that was a full amount of experience for him to get. So, and real quick before I go any further here, if you missed the last video, this is part 2. If you didn't see the first part where I explained about the breathing meditation and everything, you can click on the text that pops up on the screen here, and you can watch the first video. This is just picking up where we left off, and if you remember the breathing practice, it's hard to even call it a meditation because it's just so simple. All you have to do is notice the fact that you're breathing, focus on your breath. And so really just give all your attention to the fact that you are breathing, which is something that you normally don't pay that much attention to at all. It's just something that happens automatically, and you don't have to focus on it or think about it or anything like that. But if you do that, if you choose to put your attention there, in the middle of whatever you're doing, whether you're busy or at rest, you can focus on your breath. Feel it, feel the air as it goes in your body. Take a breath and feel the effect that the air has when it enters and it leaves your body. And it has a sort of energy quality to it. So you can just feel that, and that's all you have to do. It will help slow down your mind. It will help slow down your thoughts. And the practice from the first video, we'll go ahead and continue that here, is that whenever I'm quiet, whenever I have these gaps like this when I'm talking, or whenever you want, it could be when I'm in the middle of saying a whole bunch of stuff, and maybe I'll ramble on again a little bit. But if that happens, anytime that you see fit, just focus back on your breathing again. And you can ask yourself, am I breathing right now? That's a good, it's like a tap on the shoulder. You can think of it like that. It's just a sort of trigger or trick you can use to remind yourself, like, oh yeah, let me focus on my breathing again. Let's see. And so you can say, am I breathing right now? How do I know if I'm breathing right now? Well, I have to feel it. That's the only way I can know, is by feeling, okay, there's air going in and out of my body. So, and even just doing that for one breath or two breaths, it slows your mind down, and it helps you focus on what's happening right at this moment. And you'll notice that it feels good to actually notice that you're breathing. It's a strange thing to say, but yeah. So just go ahead and practice that as much as you can while you're watching this video, or maybe when I'm just paused and can't think of what to say, or when I have these gaps between words, you can do it then. Whatever suits you best. So we talked about tense last time, and I didn't actually use one, but I'm going to go ahead and use one here to show you what it does. So if we had multiple characters in the party, they would all be able to benefit from using a tent. As this recovers the party's HP and MP. It says can be used outdoors. So we're technically on the world map here, so we're outdoors. So we can use this tent. I'm going to go ahead and use one because we have two. And it plays the little fanfare. And then Cecil does this wave, like, okay, I'm all set. And so now you can see his HP got refilled to full. And if he had magic points, that would have also gotten refilled to full. So it's a good way to heal up your entire party without having to use a bunch of items to do it. Let's say, for example, if Cecil was at 10 HP, like he was really low HP or something, one potion would not be enough to heal them up to full. So if you needed to heal them to full, even 2 potions wouldn't quite be enough right now. So it would take 3 potions to heal him up to 222 max HP that he has right now. Otherwise, you can just use one tent and it refills your whole party HP to max. And so if you had multiple characters in the party, like if Kane was still here, for example, and his HP was also low, well, that might be 4 or 5 or 6 potions that you needed to use to get the whole party back in good shape. So, and now that I'm remembering, this game in particular, I don't think tents will heal the HP to completely full. If I recall correctly, there's a other item that you get later called a cabin that will restore 100% of HP even at later points in the game. Eventually, tents, I think, have limits on how much HP they will restore. But right now, this early in the game, it will definitely heal up 100% because the character's HP levels and MP levels are not very high yet. So anyway, I just wanted to show what that was like to use a tent because we talked about it in the last video and I didn't actually end up using one. So I'm going to go ahead and save actually. And we'll go ahead and save on file 2. That's fine. We'll work on that for now. Overwrite file 2 data. And so this is what I was talking about in the previous video about alternating your saves. So we started with this one. And here we've saved this one. And so next time I save, I might save back over file 1 again. That way I have this progress to fall back on if I need it. If I ever need to go backwards. It's not strictly necessary. You can play through the whole game with just one save file. It's fine. But I usually recommend is if you've got a game like this where there's enough slots to spare, there's enough file slots that you can use to where you don't have to worry about running out. I usually recommend at least having one backup file, then just alternating back and forth between them. That way, in case something weird happens, or, in case you miss something that you can't go back and get again, you won't lose a whole ton of progress. You might only lose a couple hours or whatever since you've last played. So, alright. So usually, that's what I was going to say with that. Usually, when you restore your party, like when we used the tent just now, that's a good time to save if you can, because then you have a save file where your characters are fully healed up and they're ready to go, so you don't have to worry about, oh, I saved and my character only had 50 HP left or something like that. So just by wandering around in this desert here, it looks like we've come to a little oasis town here, so we're gonna have to check that out a little bit, see what's going on. This is Kaipo, Oasis of the Desert. That's the name of this little town. And here Cecil says, I have to find her a place to rest. So if you'll remember from the first video, after the destruction of Mist Village, this girl was left behind as the only survivor. And Cecil took her into his care as they left. Their passage back to Baron was completely blocked due to the landslide from the earthquake that her summoned creature caused. And so they're having to just, take another path. And so here we find this Kaipo, the Oasis desert oasis. And so now he's looking for a place to rest for the girl. And so here again, he's going to the inn. You'll notice that little icon there for the bed. So, and the innkeeper says, welcome. Oh, she looks very pale. Is she all right? Get her to a bed quickly. She can rest here, free of charge. So that's nice of the innkeeper here. Cecil says, thank you. And so he's going to let the girl rest up because she's gone through a lot. And using that summon probably took it out of her on top of everything. And so by here she's stirring. She's waking up after Cecil puts her in a bed. He says, hey, are you all right? She doesn't want to say anything back to him. My name is Cecil. What's yours? I'm so sorry about your mother. I understand if you can't forgive me. So he knows, it's like, hey, even though I did all this on someone else's order, it's like I regret it. I didn't want to do any of this. So he's being honest about it. This is, will you at least let me protect you? So he's trying to just be, as kind of, as understanding as he can, given the situation. And he's like, okay, well, I'll just give you your space. That's fine. And so the screen tint fades to like a dark to show you that it's nighttime. So they were just resting. But then here comes trouble. This is a general. Says, Cecil, I finally found you. And the girl's worried. She says, wait. I'm here on the king's orders. All summoners from Mist must be annihilated. Hand over the girl now. So somehow they realize that Cecil and this girl escaped from Mist Village, despite the chaos. And Cecil says, not a chance. So he's gonna, stay true to his word to protect her. So then you shall die. We'll see about that. Okay, so we've got... This is an interesting battle. I just happen to know a little something about it, but because I've played this before. But so here we have 3 Baron soldiers and a general. And so you can see the design of these characters is the same, but the colors are a little bit different. This usually is called a palette swap or something like to that effect. It's a way for the art teams to not have to design, yet another character look, and yet they can still distinguish the general from the soldiers by making the colors a little bit different. So it's the same art, it's just different, color setup and everything. That was just a little aside I thought I would explain. So there's 2 ways you can approach this battle. You can either go for the soldiers first, or you can focus directly on the general. And there's advantages to doing either one. I'm going to go ahead and make use of darkness here, even though it drains his HP a little bit. So the general says attack. And then you'll notice when he says that, all 3 of the soldiers attack immediately. And the general says attack again. But now only 2 of them are able to attack because the first one got defeated. So if I do darkness one more time, and the only reason I'm doing darkness is to quickly defeat the Baron soldiers. Because they're a lot weaker, as you can see. And so now the general retreats. Cecil gained a level. He went up to level 12. His HP is now 244 for the max. And he got 1 more point for strength and agility. And the girl is now asking, are you okay? And Cecil says, yes, don't worry about me. I won't let anyone hurt you. Promise? So, I promise. So he's made good on his word. She's like, I'm Rydia. Or Rydia, if you prefer to pronounce it that way, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Rydia. Rydia. Summoner Rydia has joined the party. Alright, so that's that. So he, he made good on his word, and now we have a new partner here. It's like, I'll protect you, and so he proved it. Like, all set. See, this is the same wave animation he did when we used the tent earlier. So this might be a little bit annoying for some people, but I'm actually going to load this save again, and I'll show you why real quick here. I won't do this every time, I promise. But I'm actually going to reset that progress, load the save back up, and we're going to take the other approach for that battle. And otherwise, it's going to be the same. Just to show you the difference when you, like I said, there was two ways to approach that particular battle. You could either defeat the Baron soldiers. I'm just going to skip the text quickly so we don't have to repeat that. And so you could defeat the Baron soldiers, which is what I did this first time. And then the other approach is to go for the general directly. So this time that's what I'm going to focus on, is trying to take the general out first. This might be a little bit dicey, but we're going to try it anyway. And the reason is because you actually, if I remember correctly, you actually get more rewards for taking out the general. I might be wrong. I might not be remembering correctly, but I just remember there's two approaches to this battle. And I think there was some benefit for taking out the general, if I remember right. So I'm just going to do attacks and focus 100% on the general. If you remember back to the first video, actually I take that back. I'm going to take a couple of these soldiers out first, because that way when the general does that attack ability, that these guys can't attack 3 times. That will help a little bit. That's just a little bit of a strategy there. So as long as there's one soldier for him to command, he'll just keep doing that instead of retreating. But if you take all 3 of the soldiers out, then he just retreats like we saw last time. So I'm going to do this. And now, whenever he says attack, only one of them can attack. Which, what that does is lessens the amount of damage that Cecil's going to take, basically. So now I'm going to focus on the general. So this is where the targeting that we talked about in the first video, this is where it really comes into play. Because I'm selecting specifically what enemies I want to focus on here. And in this battle, it makes a difference. Because you saw, I selected the 2 Baron soldiers before, so we could get them out of the way. Now there's only one for him to command to attack. And now I just want to focus solely on the general, so I don't want to even attack this Baron soldier at all. So that's when you want to purposefully select your target. And there was a critical hit right there. It flashed and it made the different noise when the attack hits. And so you can even breathe right now. Focus on your breathing in the middle of this battle. You can do it. You can do it just fine. Feel the air going in your body and the air going back out of your body. Even when something a little bit more hectic is happening, like an intense boss battle here. So I don't know if Cecil's HP will outlast this general. I didn't have any potions, so that's why I was kind of concerned about it, but we'll see. Okay, so we did take out the general. Alright. And so you can see the soldier... okay. The soldier immediately... that was interesting. I didn't remember that happened, but we took out the general, and the soldier immediately fell, basically. They took extra damage somehow, so that was a little bit strange, actually, but I didn't remember that part. But I think here, the experience and the gil amount, if I recall correctly, you'll be able to see easier in the video, but it looks to me like it's higher. We got more gil and more experience because it actually defeated the general, so... Oh, now, there's something interesting. You notice the HP, I'm pretty sure it went up to 244 last time, and this time it went to 243. That's kind of strange. Maybe I'm misremembering, but that's okay. But everything else looks like it went pretty much the same. So again, Cecil still got stronger no matter what, and even if the general retreats, it's fine. I mean, you still progress the story in the same way. It's just a different way you can approach that battle in particular. So, and we'll get ready to join here again. Skip the text because we saw it already. I just wanted to show you that there's 2 different ways to approach that particular battle, because that's kind of unique. There's not too many times where they do something like that. Most of the times it's, there's one solution to the puzzle, so to speak, and then and that's that. So But every once in a while, you may find enemies like that. It's pretty common, for example, to have a very lucrative enemy that retreats from battle, like the general did there. Sometimes there'll be just a random enemy that you come across, and maybe like after 1 or 2 turns, they'll just escape from the battle, retreat from the battle every time. But if you can defeat them before they do that, they might give you a very high amount of experience or gil or something like that, which is unusual. But but if you find an enemy like that, they're really worth defeating if you can. But they don't usually make it too easy to do. Okay, so briefly from the menu here, we opened it briefly, but okay, so there's 2 things to note. Well, there's a couple things to note here, actually. First is that Rydia has MP. She's a magic user, so she actually has magic, and her class is Summoner. Or, well, it could be called class, it could be called a role, it could be called a job. Different games call them different titles. But the idea is that's her specialty. She's a Summoner. Cecil's a Dark Knight, and so with Rydia actually having magic, I'll go actually check on her. And we can see we've got some categories here. White magic, black magic, and summon. So we know she's a summoner, so she can use the special summon magic. Most characters cannot do that. But there's other categories of magic here, white magic and black magic, and I'll get into those when we get a character that can actually use those kinds of magic. But generally speaking, white magic tends to be on protection, restorative, strengthening kind of magics, and then black magic tends to be directly damaging opponents, so it'll be battle magic basically, if you want to think of it that way. Whereas white magic is more for helping your party, sustaining them and keeping them healthy and all that. So summoning, though, is kind of different. Well, we saw an example at the cinematic scene where she summoned the large fellow there that made the earthquake. So they're usually more, I'll say most of her summons are focused on dealing damage to enemies. It's more like a black magic sort of setup. But some excuse me, some are more white magic in nature. They can help protect the party or maybe heal them or whatever. So it varies. So the only one she has right now is Chocobo. It says cast Chocobo Kick, which attacks 1 enemy. So it tells you right in the description there what it actually does. So we'll check that out a little bit. Oh, and at the bottom there it says MP cost 7. So every time she wants to use this Chocobo summon, it's going to require 7 MP for her to do that. So right now she can only use it 1 time, and then she has to restore her MP because she doesn't have enough maximum MP. So, and that's another thing you'll notice here is that she is level 1, where Cecil and Kane started out as level 10. So this is more normal. Level 1 is more where you get a character to start in most games. And I touched on this briefly in the first video, but you'll notice here they put Rydia in this second slot. Now, not every game is going to work this way. This is it's almost unique to Final Fantasy IV in particular. Not quite, but it almost is. But it depends on which of these slots right here that a character's in as to what position they're in. You'll see if I move left and right, they switch back and forth. Now, if I put Rydia here, this is where Kane was, if I remember it. Now she's on the left side, and now when I move them back and forth, they're identical. So I know we haven't really discussed this in length to where it makes sense, but I'll show you the difference in a battle now that we have a magic user here. And I'll show you why the game put her here and why you want to actually leave her to the right side like this. So the idea is the left side is the front row and the right side is the back row in battle. And I'll show you more about that. But since we're here in town, I actually wanted to explore town a little bit more thoroughly because we didn't really do that with Baron either. There's some reasons to do that that are worthwhile. So we're just going to walk around and talk to some NPCs. I can't believe Anna ran away. She and her father, Sage Tella, are very close. So here we're actually getting some story. The player doesn't really know that yet, but this is actually info about characters that we'll be seeing. And so that's one good thing. To talk to NPCs, you get some. I mentioned this in the first video, I think, but you get some backstory and more development. So you learn that Anna, whoever Anna is, ran away from home, and it says she and her father, Sage Tilla, are very close. So it's surprising that Anna left because, they thought they were, really close family, but maybe not. Maybe something happened or whatever. It says, welcome, what can I do for you? So this is actually the item shop, fellow. Now, I'm actually going to buy some potions. I'm going to use some of this skill that we've been hoarding here. Because we have 0 potions, and that's not really a good idea. You want to at least have some to rely on. And so we can see here, I pressed the A button on the potion to say I would like to buy some. And now we can just move left and right to increase the quantity, where it says number. It's just how many you want to buy, and then the total goes up or down, and that's the gil that it will take. So we have 1,139 gil right now, so a good bit. I'm going to buy about 10 potions. I think that's probably pretty good. And so now it says stock 10, so that just tells us how many we're holding right now, how many we're carrying with us. And you remember that Phoenix down we got in the first one, we can buy some of those here too. I might actually buy like at least 2 more of those, so we've got a couple of them on hand. And that's pretty good. The rest of these, let's see, Gold Needle, here's an ally of petrification, here's an ally of the toad status. So we haven't really seen negative status effects yet too much. They will definitely come up, but we'll probably see some in this video at some point, I'm sure. But all these things here, that's petrification, toad, darkness, poison, those are all different kinds of status effects that you can get in the game that do various things to make life more difficult for the player, basically. And so, I'll just get an antidote, I think, for now. Just to have 1, maybe 2. 2 is better. And you don't have to worry about like buying a million of these, because you actually will find stuff like this in treasure chests as you explore, and monsters can drop them after battles. So, I mean, you can obviously buy as much as you want from the store too, but then you're using all your gil just on items, and you will find some items as you go along, so it's not strictly necessary. Geisal greens, this is the favorite food of fat chocobo. Try using it where it smells of chocobo. So we haven't seen that yet. I might be able to show you what that's about at some point, but it's not that big of a deal. But okay, so that's pretty good for the item shop. Just thank you very much. So you can see there's that up on the wall there. There's that little urn or vase or whatever it is, that sign again to distinguish that this is the item shop. But it's also the inn too, because see, here's the bed one. So they're in the same building in this case. Let's check upstairs here, just to explore a little more closely. Oh, now there was a thing we briefly saw as I walked by that. There was an exclamation point to show you can interact with that. It says, quench your thirst with Kaipo Punch. So it's just an advertisement for the bar here. We've got a patron. It says, I am a traveling scholar. I want to go to Fabul, which lies east of Damsian, to do a little research. So these are other towns that they're talking about. Fabul, other kingdoms. Fabul and Damsian, yep. Or Damsian, or however you pronounce it. I'm not too sure. I'm going to say Damsian. Says, but some old man in the water cavern won't let me through. So this gives us a hint of something that's coming up also, that you might have a locked door here, so to speak. Like I mentioned in the first video. You remember to breathe with all this? I hope so. Just focus on your breathing. Breathe in, feel the energy of your air, of your breath. Breathe out and feel it exiting your body. And and enjoy the peace and quiet when your brain slows down. I want to go to the Antlion Cave east of Damstian because there's untold riches inside. Too bad only the royals are allowed in there. So that's kind of a hint for the player, like, oh, there might be something worth checking out over there if you can get in, but you need to find some royalty first to get in there. So these are just clues about things that may be upcoming, or maybe it might be like a side quest or something. We haven't mentioned those too much yet, but there are optional objectives in the game you can pursue, and they're typically called side quests as opposed to like the main quest or something like that. And so you can get hints from that, like from this character, it might be something that you wouldn't have known to go even search for until someone talked to an NPC and they mention it. So talk to the waitress here, or the bartender here. As well, hello, we rarely have visitors these days. What with all the monsters running around? Okay, all good. Okay. So, now if I remember correctly, I'm thinking of something else. Okay, yeah, I'm thinking of a different place. Never mind. There is a bar at some point with the secret in it, but that wasn't the one. Let's see here. Okay, so we're back at the inn now. I've got control. Before when we first entered here, and Cecil was taking Rydia to get rest somewhere, the game took over and controlled and took her there automatically. So it's like, I heard some damsel from Baron was found passed out on the outskirts of town. She was taken to someone's house to recover. So this is very interesting intel here. We'll see what he's talking about here in a little bit as we explore the town more fully. But it's good to find out about that. So this is Kaipo, the desert oasis of Damstian. Okay, so we're in Damstian right now, the kingdom of Damstian. So that's good to know, because the person we talked to before, that wasn't exactly made clear that that's where we were. So Kingdom of Damstian and Kaipo Village, or whatever you want, town, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so we've got a weapon shop here. I don't know about the armor shop. Is it in the same building? Different building? Let me see. May just be weapons here. Sometimes they'll separate them. Okay, yeah, armor shop's over here. Okay. That's kind of what I figured. There might be one of each. So the water cavern is to the northeast, but it's dangerous. There have been sightings of 8 water serpents recently. Okay, so we heard the other villager or townsperson talking about the water cavern. They were trying to get in there, but there's an old man blocking the way. And now we've learned it's to the northeast of here, and that there's some kind of dangerous serpent. So I'm going to go in here really quick and check out the armor situation. So here's a fun character. It's like, naming way. Like, well, hello, do you wish to change your name? So this is just a fun little feature that if you want to change the character's name from Cecil to something else that you want to put in yourself, you can do that with this by talking to this particular character. I'm hit no, as I like the default names. It says, very well, if you ever change your mind, I am always at your service. So this naming way fellow is a character that you'll find repeatedly throughout the adventure, and this is kind of all he's there for, is a player agency to help them to change a character's name if you want to call them something else. But and some games will let you do that, like right at the start or whatever, as you're playing, rather than having to track down an NPC like this to do it. But it's just a fun way to make it, build it into the world, but also, make it so there's a feature for the player to change a name if they want to. So let's talk to the armor salesperson here. Okay, so all right. So let's look at this a little bit. We haven't really looked at any other shops besides the item shops yet. So here we have their different items, and we can see, so leather cap, and it shows the cost, and stocked and equipped. So that's actually pretty nice. In the earlier versions of the games, they didn't have information like this one's already equipped on this one, and it's in stock. Like, I don't think they gave you those 2 extra columns of stock and equipped. So you can see equipped, equipped, equipped. So these are all things that Rydia already has on her. She already has the leather cap. Now, let me explain that middle box a little bit. You can see Rydia is doing her victory fanfare dance or whatever. So that's to clue you in that she can wear this equipment. And Cecil is still, he's not moving. So that tells you that he cannot equip this item. So he can't fit this item at all. And certain gear is just like that. There's different classes of armor. So there'll be like light armor versus heavy armor or something like that. And so Cecil being a knight, he can equip heavier armor, and Rydia won't be able to wear, heavy body suit of armor or whatever. So she has to stick to the light armor like we're seeing here. That's less important to remember the classifications, and you can just look at what this screen is showing you to say, hey, Rydia can equip this. And so the little check mark that's next to her is what the equipped box is telling you, that one character already has this equipped, and it's Rydia, which is why there's a check. Now if I go down to the close section here, we can see this, and it tells you the stats too below that. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Defense +1, evasion +5, magic defense +1, magic evasion +1. Okay, so that's all these stats that the leather cap will give Rydia if she wears it. Now we can see here, the clothes are defense +1 and evasion +10. And it says we don't have any of those in stock, so we're not carrying any of this item, and no one's equipping it. Now you'll see Rydia can wear this, but there's a down arrow next to it, which means it's generally weaker than what she already has equipped. So we wouldn't want to buy this and put this on her because it wouldn't be as good as what she's already got. And if we go down here to leather garb, we can see this one has 2 defense, 10 evasion, 1 magic defense, and 1 magic evasion for her stat boost. And this is what Rydia has equipped because it has the check mark next to her. So you can say, okay, she's wearing this one. So this one's actually a downgrade compared to this. And one, you can tell just by the difference in stats, like defense +2 versus defense +1. The evasion rate is the same, so that doesn't change. But this one gives also magic defense +1 and magic evasion +1, and this one doesn't give that. But another way that you can usually tell too, besides just the arrows, if one was stronger, it would have an up arrow instead, which we can't see that here right now, but we'll see that eventually, I'm sure, here probably pretty soon, I'm thinking. But another way you can generally tell is that this one costs less money than this one. And so when it comes to buying stuff in shops, it's not 100% guarantee, but I would say probably at least 80% of the time, the more expensive the item, the better it's going to be compared to a less expensive one. That's not always the case, because sometimes there will be just variance in what it provides in terms of stats, and you may prefer one selection of stat boosts to a different one. Like if this, I'll just say for example, if this clothes increased her attack power instead of her defense, and you were looking for boosting her attack power, then this might actually be more appealing than the leather garb, which only boosts her defense, or whatever. Not a great example, but that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not going to be 100% guaranteed that the more expensive the better, but most of the time that's going to be the case. So that's all, and she's got the rest of these equipped, the iron armlet, so she already has all this stuff equipped for her, so you don't need to worry about getting new armor for her at this point. So and then here you can double check what she has equipped. It's just the same as the equipment menu in the main menu. If you can see her stats and everything. And so thank you very much. So in general, when you visit a new town or village or whatever city in a role-playing game, you almost always want to check the weapon and armor shop, the equipment shops, because buying new equipment as you get to new areas they will continue to increase in strength. The equipment will continue to get stronger, in other words, the further you go in the game. And you will find some equipment in treasure chests and things like that as you play. And that's another way to get good, get new equipment without necessarily having to spend all your gil doing it. But on the other hand, you can always buy whatever is in the shop in whatever town you're at. And, you'll always have access to this as a baseline, basically. It sets a new baseline. Like, okay, you can always buy this. And you'll probably, in treasure chests most of the time, you'll probably find better equipment than what you actually get in the shop here. But generally speaking, you can always find at least something useful, and it will continue to get stronger and stronger if all you did was just buy the most expensive equipment that you could get from the shop. That would be, that would be fine to do it that way. So here's something interesting too. This is a little more complex, but I'll try to explain it here in a simple way. So Rydia already has this particular weapon equipped, this rod. So it says plus 3 attack, accuracy plus 40. Now she has other options here. There's a staff, and here we can see the up arrow. I figured we would see it with the weapons. So this means generally it's stronger than what she has equipped right now. And we can see that in the stats. Plus 3 attack and plus 40 accuracy. If she equips a staff, she gets plus 4 attack and 45 accuracy. So more attack power, more accuracy. But then we have this bow. And we can see for some reason, even though, the attack, it says, it's got here attack plus 3, accuracy plus 40, attack plus 4, accuracy plus 45. So you would think going to attack plus 10 and accuracy plus 75 would be a huge benefit. But then why does the arrow point down? Why does it show that this is weaker than this little rod that she's already using? And that's because there's different stats that are being affected here. Now Rydia can actually equip all 3 of these different kinds of weapons, and these are literally different types of weapons. I'll just spoil this for you a little bit, but a rod is generally for magic users. A staff, and rods tend to be for black magic users, I'll just say, for example, but they can use a staff too. Staff could be for white magic or black magic, whatever, but bows, not that many characters can use bows. But the difference here, rods and staffs are melee weapons. They're considered melee weapons by the game. A bow, however, is more of a ranged weapon, so... And this is kind of an interesting one. Bows are a little strange because they have to have arrows, these iron arrows. So you've got to not only have bow, but you also have to have a bunch of arrows in your inventory to be able to use the bow. So you could go for this weapon, and stats-wise, it does pretty good. But the reason that it considers it down is because there's magic-related stats that these rods and staffs are, adjusting for Rydia, and since she's a magic user, it's going to be more fitting for her to use these kinds of weapons typically. She can equip this, but it's less suited to what she's really doing. So let me see if I can show you an example here. Yeah, okay, it's not really showing it. It's just showing... okay. Well, that's kind of strange because accuracy plus 40, and then her accuracy goes up when you remove it? That's a little strange. I don't get that one. Huh. That's a little strange. Well, anyway. So it's actually kind of trying to tell you, like, with that down arrow, even though it's not showing anything directly, it's saying, hey, she can do this, but it's probably better for you to go with this kind of weapon for her. It's kind of trying to tell you that, like, she's not the best character to use a bow. She could do it, but you're better off doing this, typically. So I'm actually going to buy this staff for her. Just right now. How many would you like? Just one. And I'll show you how that goes. And so now you can see there's one in stock and none equipped right now. So we can equip it right from here. And I'm just going to do optimal. That way I don't have to fuss with it. And it's going to equip the staff that's optimal. And now here we can see if we try to equip the rod itself, then you can see it's a little bit weaker and it's a little bit less accuracy. So the staff is a direct upgrade for her without any downsides. So now, what you might want to do, I'm going into the sell page here. Now we can see here we have all this, and that's kind of interesting. I kind of forgot I did that, but this is all the equipment that Kane was holding on to. I didn't realize that he left it behind like that. Because here's Cecil's equipment, and it's still grayed out because he's holding onto it, but we still have Kane's equipment too, so that's kind of interesting. We could sell it or repurpose it, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I was going to go to, and this is what Rydia is wearing. I was going to go to the rod, was the main thing. So what we can do with this rod, since we don't have another character that needs it right now, we can just go ahead and sell it. And so that's one way that you can get some gil back, is by selling your old equipment that you're not using. Like I could sell all these iron shield and spear and iron armor and all that stuff, and you'd be able to get all this money for it. In case you needed more gil to buy more equipment or, whatever, that's one way you can do it. So I'm going to go ahead and sell the rod. How many are you selling? Just one. And we'll get 50 gil back for that. So in addition to battling monsters and, opening treasures and getting gil that way, you can also sell your older equipment that you know for sure you don't need anymore. And that will, help you get some of your gil back so you can use it towards other stuff. So now here we can see the rod changed to down arrow because it's weaker than what she has equipped. She has a staff equipped now. And the bow's still saying, hey, it's trying to tell you, like, this is probably not the best for her to have the bow. So you can just use that as a rule. And like I said, just use the optimal or whatever if you don't want to mess with the staff. Or the staff. I read the word staff again. If you don't want to mess with all the equipment stuff, you can just be as simple as, okay, whatever one has the up arrow, equip that on the character, and then everything else, don't worry about it. And that's all there. Really, as complicated as equipping your party members is, it really doesn't have to be that hard. It's just, like I said, bigger numbers are better. So you can go ahead and just focus on it that way. So now we've checked the weapon shop and the armor shop in this town. And we've got pretty much everything we need out of them, so we don't have to worry about going too far. One thing I haven't done yet, but I'll do it here. Now you see, as I walk by this, it doesn't do anything out of the ordinary, but when I turn to face it, you can see it has this really helpful speech bubble exclamation point pop-up. Now as we've learned, we can interact with that. If I do that, it says found ether. So in the original version of the game, the original release, like way back in the 90s, 1990s, when this was on the Super Nintendo, they didn't have that little speech bubble show up. So you wouldn't have anything to differentiate this pot from this one. It would just look exactly like this. And so basically what you would get in the habit of doing, once you figured out that there are sometimes items hidden in ordinary pots and things like that, is you would just go around and, press the A button, interact with it, press the button on this one. Basically, run around trying to interact with every single pot and jar and whatever that you see, in the hopes that there's an item in there that you might be able to find. So you would go like this, and okay, like this, okay, none of those, and check them all, and let me go over here, and let's check these ones, and you press the button, and you press the button. Anyway, so now with the quality of life features, you don't have to hunt around as much, but you can still gain some items sometimes from things that look ordinary, like a pot or a jar or a box, or some games hide stuff in the chest of drawers or a clock on the wall, or they've done all kinds of crazy things. So this is one other good thing to do when you're in a town, is to look around for the pots. And since this newer version of the game, the Pixel Remaster version, they have the little exclamation points show up. You know which ones are going to have something in them and which ones aren't, just by facing towards them, basically, and then that little exclamation point appears. So I just wanted to show you that before we got too far. That's another good thing to do with town, because we just got a free ether from that pot, and that's not even an item we can buy from the shops. So those are pretty hard to come by, actually, especially this early in the game. So we've got 2 of them now. Recovers MP. Now that we have a magic user, that's actually going to be useful for us. Rydia can use magic, so let's check out the rest of the little houses and talk to some of the other characters in town here. Let's see, talk to this lady. It says Anna fell deeply in love with someone, but she left Kaipo because Sage Tella didn't approve. So here we're getting some gaps filled in between what was going on. So with Anna and Tella. So now we know that she left home, and they thought they were on good terms, and they were, but now she, loves this person, but her father didn't approve of them, so that sort of caused a breakdown in their relationship between her and her father. So the castle up north is Damsian Castle, which rules over this entire desert. So here we're getting a little more clarification about, yes, we're in, Damsian Kingdom. And then, now we know it's north. It's up north. It says, I hear the Prince of Damsian is a delicate beauty with an exquisite voice. So that may come in useful later on, knowing that little bit of information. Let's go over here and talk to these folks. As if you are going to travel with that little girl, I recommend moving her to the back row. Okay, so this is this is kind of a strange thing for the NPCs to be telling the player, but this is a hint to what to do with. I'll talk about this a little bit more when we get into another battle, but this is just the developers trying to give players a very not so subtle hint, like, hey, put her in the back row, because an NPC doesn't even know what a row is. So it's just kind of funny. It's a little bit fourth wall breaking there if you want to go that route. So here's a fun character to talk to. It says, I want to go to Damsian to become a dancer, but the water cavern is filled with monsters. I've been practicing, though. Check out these moves, and so you can say yes or no. I'm going to say yes. She has her fun little dance. So you'll find these dancer characters in quite a few towns around the place as you explore the world and stuff. So they're just fun. They all have different little dancing animations and things like that. She likes to splash around in the water and all that stuff. It's just fun. You can... I want to see what she says when you pick no. I don't remember. Oh, she didn't say anything else. Okay, I wasn't sure. So we've checked most of the town now. It's not a very big town. Ideally, if you're just playing on your own, you would have wanted to do this also in the town of Barren before you left, and now you can't go back to Barren now because the road is blocked. So, so whatever was there, you won't be able to get access to it anymore. So, so it's good to talk to all the characters. When you feel like it. You don't have to talk to all the characters, but for sure, at least go in, check the item shop, check the equipment shops, look around for any free items that might be in pots or boxes or whatever. And then, that way you at least can keep up with what you, as you make progress. So let's go in this last house here. Save this one for last on purpose. Let's talk to this lady. It says, we found a girl from Barren lying unconscious just outside of town. The poor thing's come down with desert fever. She just keeps muttering the name Cecil over and over. So that's a little bit close to home here. Rosa. So it's Rosa. Cecil. Cecil, don't die on me. So she's muttering that in her sleep. So she's having a nightmare, basically. Let's talk to this gentleman here. So to cure desert fever, you need a rare jewel called the sand ruby, found only in a cave where an antlion dwells. So we can put some pieces together here. We now have a side quest, and that's to help cure Rosa's desert fever. So she came after Cecil when she heard everything that was going on. She came down with this desert fever, which is some kind of rare illness, I guess, because it takes a rare ingredient to get rid of it. Sand ruby. So the antlion nest, we heard about that from one of the other townsfolk. Is that there was an antlion den or nest, whatever, and that it has a lot of treasure in it. And so now, instead of just treasure, we have a very personal reason to go to said antlion nest. That's our goal here. So Rosa actually, she must have left Baron and followed Cecil. Probably tracked him down when she heard about what happened and missed and all that, and made her way here somehow. But has fallen ill, so we can hear her theme is playing in the background again. So that's probably a pretty big shock for Cecil. He probably was not expecting to see her here, let alone that she came down with this illness. So, all right. So that's why I saved this house for last, because now if you weren't exploring town thoroughly enough, you could have not ever even gone into this building, and you would have never known any of that is going on. So. There won't always be something that significant in every town that you visit, but you could have easily missed that and not even known that any of that was going on. So it pays to explore, it pays to be thorough, and just try to get the most out of the game experience that you can. Don't rush through it. That would be my advice, but it's up to everybody to choose how they like to play. So let's go out of town. We've done about everything we can here, I think. Let's go ahead and make another save outside of town. And we're going to get in some battles because Rydia is very weak right now. As you can see, she only has 30 HP, 10 MP. She's level 1, so we need to strengthen her up a little bit. So first we're going to save. I'll go ahead and save from, well, let's see. We could do it either way. I'll go ahead and save here. It's fine. It doesn't really matter that much. That's how we can see now. We've got Rydia in the party and Cecil both. So let's get into battle here. And I'm just going to walk around town. Just right around this area. Doesn't really matter. Get into some random battles. So we got some goblins and we're ambushed. So ambush is like the back attack we saw from before, where all the monsters get to attack first. Now, let's talk about this row situation. You can see here that Cecil is standing a little bit in front of Rydia. And that's because Cecil is in what's called the front row, and Rydia is in the back row. So, this is a weird thing that they did with a lot of the early Final Fantasy games, and I feel like eventually they kind of moved away from doing this sort of thing in a lot of them. But the general idea is, to simplify it very, very concisely, you want your stronger attackers in the front row, and you want your magic users, or casters as they're sometimes called, you want them in the back row. That's as simple as I can put it. So you can see right above the attack where it says more commands. I'm going to go ahead and hit B button to go back from targeting, and I'm going to choose that more commands option. And so you can say row. So if I do row, you can see it does a little targeting to say this is going to affect all the characters in the party. They're all going to switch rows, basically. So I'll just go ahead and do that just to show you. And now they switch rows. And so now Cecil's in the back and Rydia's in the front. But that's not how you want that. That's the opposite of what's ideal. And the reason is because, let me go ahead and switch back for them real quick. The reason is because if they're in the front row, if a character's in the front row, they deal more damage with their attacks, but they also take more damage from attacks. Now, if a character's in the back row, they deal less damage with their attacks, but they take less damage from attacks also. Now, why does that matter? Because with Cecil, he's a character that's focusing on using their attack a lot. So see, I'll just go ahead and hit this goblin, does 42 damage. And now I'll show you Rydia by extension. It might be a little bit, it might be the same. Actually, not that different, really, but let me see. Oh, I think one thing I forgot to mention too. I believe it's the Y button. If you have two characters that are ready, if their turns are ready, so you can see that yellow bar. I didn't talk about that in the first video, but the yellow bar on the right side is how long it's going to take before their turn is ready. So when it's filling back up after a turn, like I'll just attack this goblin here, and you can see Cecil's will start to fill back up, and it's gradually progressing. So he's not ready for a turn yet. He's still not ready, and now he's ready for a turn now that the bar went up. So if you press, I think it's the Y button. Yeah, okay, so if I'm pressing the Y button right here, and you can see the arrow is moving back and forth, and it's switching turns between Rydia and Cecil. So if you have multiple characters that are like that, where their turn is ready, you can press the Y button, and it will switch between them. So right now, if I really want to hurry up and use Cecil instead, I can just press the Y button, and it'll go to his turn instead of Rydia's. So that's one thing you can do, but I'm going to attack with Rydia, and I'll show you. Okay, well, she missed the bat. Let's see. I'm just going to wait it out. Actually, I'll attack one more goblin. Take it down to just one. Now, let's see if her attack lands here. Oh, no. Okay, so never mind. She got hit too much, so she took 15 damage. So even though she was in the back row, she still took quite a bit of damage. It's just because she's such a low level right now. I don't want to use a Phoenix down on this, and I'll show you why. Go back here. I'll show you the other way. So now we've seen KO. So Rydia got no experience because she's KO'd. So that's one major downside. But since Cecil was not KO'd, we could still continue the battle, and we're still victorious. But Rydia won't get any more experience until until we can bring her back from her KO status. Now, you would normally think, if I just use a potion to recover HP, right? Like Cecil, I can use a potion on him, and there, he recovers his HP. I can use one on Rydia too, right? Wait, why isn't it working? So when a character's in KO status, a potion is not going to revive them. And that's what the Phoenix Downs are for, revives an ally from the KO status. But rather than use that right now, since we're so close to a town, I'm just going to go back into town. Because the other way that you can restore a character from KO status is by visiting the inn. And between the two, a Phoenix Down is much more expensive and more useful to use on the road somewhere when you're far away from a town. And it says it's 50 gil per night. Will you be staying? I say yes. Good night. So Cecil rests. So if you ever need to restore your party to full health, this is another way you can do it. All set. And now after that, Rydia is revived from KO, and her HP and MP are full. So it's just kind of like using a tent, but you're sleeping at the inn. It's actually more like using a cabin because it fully restores everything. So the only reason I didn't use the Phoenix Down is because we were so close to town. Otherwise, I could have just used one to bring her back from her KO status. And then I could use the potion at that point to heal her the rest of her HP or whatever. So, but the reason you want her in the back is because she takes less damage back there. And if I can get a good example of it, let's see if she can survive a couple of hits. Okay, good. They didn't hit her that much. Okay, let's see. Attack. Still gonna miss. Alright, well, for one thing, you can see her accuracy is not that great. She's missing her attacks a lot. But the other reason is she's not an attacker, and that's why. That's the main reason. Let me see if I can show you. It's still gonna miss. Alright, well, Um, Even when she does damage, it's not going to be very much. That's the point. And so her priority is not so much using her attacks, but it's using magic instead. If I can get her to land a hit, that would be great. For the sake of example. Nope, still going to miss. Alright, well. So you can see with all this missing, that alone is more than enough reason to not keep doing attacks with her. It's not working out. It's a combination of her low level and, just the stats being a mismatch. So what you want to do with Rydia instead is magic. And you can see she has these options, white magic, black magic. She can't use them right now, but she can use her chocobo. So let's go ahead and do that, just to show you what that looks like. And now magic has a casting time. And you can see she did that pretty quick, actually. And here's her chocobo kick summon. And that does a lot of nice damage. That was kind of like Kane's... okay, a lot of interesting things happening right here. So that was kind of like Kane's jump skill with his Dragoon ability, where it did a lot of damage. So, but you're not going to be able to use that all the time. If you remember, the MP cost for that Chocobo skill was 7 MP, and she only had 10. And so at the max. So now she's down to 3 MP, so she can't use Chocobo Kick anymore until you restore the magic points. So what do we see here? What's going on? So levels. Everybody got levels. Rydia gained 2 levels, and that's just because she's such a low level right now that the experience points that these enemies provide is high enough to get her to 2 levels at one time. So you can see she went from level 1 up to level 3. And Cecil also gained a level. He's level 13 now. And down at the bottom it says Rydia learned Blizzard and Rydia learned Cure. So the black orb and the white orb is representative of black magic and white magic. So just from gaining those 2 levels, she just learned 2 different kinds of magic. So this is what's really cool about Rydia in particular. Being that she's a summoner, she's like a multifaceted magic character. Most characters in the game do not know both black or white magic. They specialize instead. They'll specialize in white magic, or they'll specialize in black magic, but they won't be able to do both. But Rydia can do both, and on top of that, she can also use her summoned magic too. So she's a bit of an exception. She's very special in that way. So she learned a white magic and a black magic, in addition to her summon magic that she already knew how to do. Now, it's showing her stats increases here. Her level went up by 2, so her HP's maximum is now 47. Her MP maximum went up to 20, so she has 20 MP now that she can use. You see her strength did not increase at all. So that's another indicator. She's not a character that you want to use the basic attack command with, because it's not really going to do very much at all. It's kind of not a waste of a turn, but almost a waste of a turn, because that's not how this character works. She's a magic user, and she's not a fighter. She's not an attacker. So her basic attack command, you're almost never going to use that with her. You're instead going to use magic, like the Chocobo that we saw already, Summon, and also now she has Blizzard and Cure. So, and you can see her other stats, Agility, Stamina. Now, Intellect and Spirit are related to magic users, so that's going to increase the damage of her and potency of her magic itself, which is why you'll remember from the first video, Kane and Cecil, when they were getting their levels, they didn't really get any boosts to Intellect or Spirit, so because those stats are not very useful to them, since they are attack type characters. So you don't really have to worry about all the specifics of all that. Like, you don't have to remember, oh, well, this character's going to get Intellect and Stamina. Like, you don't have to worry too much. Like I said before, if you want to keep this simple, just know that bigger numbers are better. So as the character gains levels, they'll get stronger. That's really all that means. But the important thing to look at here is that Rydia learned some new spells, so that will be of use. And here we see the monsters dropped an antidote for us. So that's helpful. So now, Rydia's MP is still at 3, because just because the maximum increased doesn't mean that her current amount has increased. So Um, and so we could right now, again, we could use all our potions and ethers, but that would be a waste um, because we're so close to town again. So I'm just going to go right back in here. And this is what is called this process that we're doing right here. Working on leveling up a character, making them stronger by getting in battles, and then coming back to the town to, paying 50 gil to refill everyone's HP and MP to their max, and go back out again and battle more monsters. It's a term that's been called grinding for levels. Now the name doesn't sound very fun, and sometimes it can feel like kind of meh. Like I don't want to get a bunch of levels right now. But when a character is this weak compared to others, like Cecil's level 13, Rydia is still only level 3. So, and you saw how easily she was defeated in that first battle when she was level 1, because she has so low HP. You're gonna have to work on getting her a little bit stronger. And so when you have an opportunity like this to level a character very close to a town, where it's very easy to just completely refill your status, your HP and MP for not that much. I mean, it's only costing 50 gil each time. It's beneficial to do that because it means you can strengthen this character easily without having to flow through all your supply of items, and it would cost even more money to buy all these potions and ethers and phoenix downs if you had to replace those. So you're saving your items for when you're inside a dungeon or somewhere like that where you're going to need them to help you, and there's not a town nearby where you can just rest easily. And so but this process of just going back and forth, getting in battles, it's called grinding for levels, and it's something that's very common with a lot of RPGs. Unfortunately, they don't really have a great way to handle that, but it's just something you get used to, and you don't have to do it forever. Just get, like, my recommendation is just get Rydia here to a point where she feels like she's surviving battles okay. It doesn't have to be crazy. So now we see, I'm just pausing it on the attack target selection here, but and we see that she now has white magic and black magic she can use. Those were grayed out before, but now that she's learned both a white magic and a black magic spell, she can use them. So let's go check white magic. And so we can see she learned Cure, and it says it restores HP. So this is kind of like using a potion, but it doesn't use up any items, and it only requires 3 MP from Rydia to be able to use this. So Rydia is now in an important position in the party. She is functioning as a healer character. Healer characters are the most important characters to keep alive in a battle, because they keep the rest of the party from getting KO'd. So even if you were out of items, you had no items left, no potions, you could still use this cure spell to recover HP for characters. And so I'm just going to show you here, when you select it, you can select the character you use it on, but if you press to the left, or actually it would be to the right, because if I press left it will go target the enemies here, but this is what I was trying to show you. You don't want to do this. You don't want to cure the enemies. That's not helpful. But if you press to the right when it's on one of these characters, it will actually do this, where it selects your whole party. And now you also see its quality of life thing. This was not the case in the earlier games, releases of the game, but it says RT, so right trigger, entire party, and then right trigger, single ally. So that's just another way that they visually show you on the screen, you can use this on the entire party. That was not the case in the past. You just had to press right by accident and learn you could do it. So I could target just one character with this. So I could target Cecil, and the healing that the cure magic does when it's targeting just one character is stronger. It's more potent. So if you have one character that has lower HP, it's good to use heal just on the cure, just on them. But in this case, neither character is missing very much HP. They're still pretty high, and they're both a little bit down. So I'm going to use it on the entire party. So I'm going to make it so it does that, and then just press A, and there's a short casting time, and you can see she used Cure, so that healed up for 23 HP for both of them. So that's how healing works. It's super important. It's vital in most battles. So Rydia is now your most important character. Cecil is important still because he's a damage dealer, but Rydia is the one who's going to keep him alive in the battles as they get more difficult. So, and that's white magic in general. It's going to be like that. It's going to be your healers. So let's go ahead and attack with the normal attack, and he did a critical hit with that one. So now let's look at black magic. It works in a similar way, but this is for damaging enemies. This is for dealing damage. You can see it deals ice damage, and so this costs 5 MP to use. So we can see on the bottom right it shows her MP totals 17 currently out of 20 maximum. So that's another advantage of using it on all targets, is that even though it does less, it's less potent that way. You're not using multiple instances of the spell, so you're using less MP. Versus if I use Cure on Cecil by himself, and then I use Cure again on Rydia by herself, that would have taken 6 MP instead of 3. So it just depends on how badly your party's hurt and how much healing they need, whether or not one way or the other makes the most sense. So we're going to do the same thing with Blizzard. And we can see, again, now we've got it with the left trigger button. It says all enemies or a single enemy. So it's the same concept. And you don't have to use the trigger. You can also just use left and right on the directional pad too. So we can attack a single enemy with the Blizzard spell, or we can hit all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and hit all of them. And we've got a short casting time. We can see the Blizzard magic, and there we go. It took out all the enemies, no problem. So, alright, so Rydia gained another level, and she learned another spell. It says Rydia learns Sight. So we can see that it's a white magic spell because of that white colored orb there. So that's a little helpful indicator of what kind of spell she learned. She won't learn magic every single time she gains a level, but these early levels she learns it quick because, they're trying to help flesh out her character a little bit better. So now she's gained more HP and MP. And this time she gained a little bit of strength, but it's, like I said, she's not going to get that much strength. You're not going to be doing attack with her very much, so it just doesn't fit her character role in her job. Or her class, if you prefer to call it a character class, whatever. So, let's see, we can go in here too. And now you can see these are up here, where they were grayed out before. Now we can see what this does. This is a good way to check and see what magic does, like Sight. It says displays a detailed map. So we can also do this too. We can use Cure Magic from the menu here, just like we can use items. So we can use it outside of battle if we want. We can go ahead and use it, and then it heals up. Now let me check one thing if it's going to let me do it. Okay, it doesn't. Some games you can actually, especially the earlier Final Fantasies, you can actually keep using Cure Magic even when you don't need to, and it just keeps wasting MP. This one doesn't let you do that though. It's telling me I can't use it anymore because these characters are already full on HP. So that's a good quality of life thing. So I don't just waste MP needlessly. So let me see what Sight does. I thought this was something else. It displays a detailed map. Let me see what this does. Oh, okay, so it shows the whole map. Okay. I thought this was a different ability, but that's right. So we can see current location, Castle Baron. Oh, okay, so it actually says chests and items. Oh, that's interesting. This is definitely something new. That was not. So this whole map thing right here, this didn't exist in the earlier games. Where it shows it like this, and it shows the chests. So I found 3 out of 18 possible treasure chests in Castle Baron, and 0 out of 2 items that are hidden. I'm guessing those are like the pots, items and pots and things like that. And then we can check again for a Town of Baron, and it looks like it shows what kind of shops are there, like an inn, an item shop, a weapon shop, and a armor shop. We haven't gotten 0 out of 6 chests, so that's really cool that they added this into the modern version of the game. That's awesome if you're trying to collect everything in different areas of the game. Missed, so I missed 4 treasures and 3 items from Mist, apparently. And then Kaipo, it says chest 0 out of 0, so we know we got. There's no treasure chest that we missed in Kaipo, and we did get the one item out of the pot, so there's only one, so we didn't miss any of those. So that way we can say, okay, we've checked everything in Kaipo, we don't have to find anything else. And then the Mist Cave itself, we got 2 treasure chests out of 4, and there's 0 hidden items. And you'll remember too that I just kind of skipped over that from the first video a little bit. So that's cool that they added this. I didn't know. So that's what the sight spell does, I guess. I thought this was something to check on the enemy stats in battle, but it looks like that's something else. So that didn't exist in the earlier games. So now, Rydia's MP is looking pretty low here. But since her HP is still okay, rather than going back to, Kaipo and resting again, I'm going to get in one more battle first. That way she can maybe get some more experience. Because the longer you can stretch it out, the better as far as, the more battles she can survive, the better, because then you don't have to heal up as much and it's not going to cost you as much gil at the end. So I'll just have her attack all enemies. And I'm used to doing it by pressing left, so I'm just going to probably do that. I'm not used to triggering it with the trigger button, so that's a little new for me. But I'm just going to attack all the enemies with her Blizzard spell. Now she's using these spells really quickly. And now you can see that didn't do that much damage. Okay, so that was an interesting ability, Osmos. So it took... So... what that wasn't HP damage, that was MP damage. Osmos is a very specific spell. It's kind of like a drain ability. It takes it from your opponents and it gives it back to you. So those enemies sucked away Rydia's 2 remaining MP, so she can't use magic anymore. And it did 0 to Cecil because he has no MP to drain away. So some enemies will have that. Characters eventually will get that too. That's a nice ability to where you run out of MP because you've been using all your spells and stuff, and you can just use Osmos. And if the opponent has it, has MP, then you can steal it from them basically. But you saw her magic spell didn't do very much damage to these characters. It's because they're a little bit more resistant probably to Blizzard. So I haven't talked about elements yet, but different magic has different elements to it. And so Blizzard is ice. It's ice-related element. And so some enemies will be resistant to ice. It won't do that much damage to them. So now that she doesn't have any MP, she can't cast any of this stuff. It's 0 MP, she doesn't have enough. So I could use the ether to restore it, but that's not needed right now. I'm just going to have her attack even though she does weak attacks or usually misses. And that's about all we can have her do right now. But another thing, actually, let me see if we can... Okay, yeah. Oh, so they use poison powder. So, okay, so she... You can see... Rydia has those glasses on her now, so that's a status. It's a funny way for them to show status effects. And the status for the glasses is darkness. So, darkness lowers a character's accuracy and hit rate. So, in other words, she'll miss with her attacks even more than she normally already does. So that's what that's about. There's an item you can use. I don't know if we have any right now. We don't. But we can look at the antidote here. It says, here's an ally of poison. So it wasn't a poison status. It was a darkness or blind status. And there's another item separate for that called eye drops. So you can use that to cure the blind status. We don't have any right now. We could have gotten them from the shop, but I didn't pick them up. Usually most status effects will end at the end of battle. Not all of them, but most of them. I'm just going to go ahead and attack with that to get that guy out of here. Okay, so we've got Rydia gained another level. That's what I was hoping for. And now she learned Thunder, so she learned another black magic. And so Thunder is, lightning, thunder, whatever. It's an electric spell, like electricity, whatever you want to say. You can just call it thunder, element, whatever. The names aren't that important. Just the idea is that there's different elements. Ice, thunder, fire. Fire is another element. Most of the early Final Fantasy games, those are the three that there are. It's, fire, ice, thunder or lightning or electricity, whatever you want to call it. And so we can see the little glasses are still on Rydia to show us, hey, that status effect is still on her. So this is one that didn't leave after battle ended. But they usually go away after a certain amount of turns progress in battle, too. That's another thing that'll happen. Like, okay, you've had blindness for 4 turns or 5 turns or whatever it takes, and then they'll go away. Most of them. But another way to get rid of status effects, conveniently, is by staying at the inn. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and rest everyone up, restore their HP and MP, and get rid of all their status effects. So that's a quick and easy way to do it. So you can see this process of grinding for levels that we're doing here. It's just something you'll do at the start until Rydia kind of catches up a little bit to Cecil. Like I would say maybe with how the levels are right now, maybe when she hits level 8 or something like that would be a good time to keep going. It's up to you. You can, you don't even have to grind at all and you could just go straight for it, but you're going to have a harder time because Rydia's, for one thing, she's learning all these spells as she gets more levels, so that makes her a more useful character to have. But also, she's going to be able to survive better if she's closer to Cecil's level and the level of the monsters, so that's another reason to do that, potentially. So it says deals lightning damage for thunder, so ice damage, lightning damage, and then fire would deal fire damage, so those are the 3 main elements in the game. So some enemies will be weak to ice damage, some enemies will be strong to it, others will be weak or strong to lightning damage. So that's where status effect, or not status, but elements come into play. And so you'll get to learn more of that as you pick up on the little nuances of each individual enemy. Like, okay, this one's really weak to ice, and so I'll use blizzard instead of thunder because it does way more damage, or those kinds of things. I have been going on for a while, but are you remembering to breathe? Have you been breathing? Have you been focusing on your breathing? Of course you've been breathing. You're alive after all. But how do you know? Well, simple. You just focus on your breath. Feel your breath as it goes in and out of your body. And when you do that, it really helps. I need to follow that advice as I'm doing these recordings because that would help me to talk a lot less and just, give you more time to focus on your own breathing. So I'm going to try thunder on these guys and see if it does any better as far as the damage. It may, it may not. Well, it's about the same. So now they're going to steal more MP from Rydia. Now see, now that time they stole a ton. They stole 20 MP. So that's really kind of annoying. But not much I can do about it. But so you got to watch that Osmos ability. It's these little insectus things that do that. See if her attack will land yet. Nope, still missed. So now I've only used 5 MP, and the Osmos things sucked away 20 MP, and now Rydia only has 5 MP left, so that kind of renders her useless. So MP damage can be really frustrating, especially early on when the character doesn't have a lot of MP to spare. I think Osmos, though, does it by like a percentage or something, so it wouldn't even matter. Even if she had more MP, they would still just suck it away. So that makes those little creatures kind of annoying, quite frankly. So here I'm actually going to use an ether. I don't really need to. I could go back and toss another thing, but just to show you, it's like there's the ether restorative. You can use it outside of battle to heal up. Normally I would recommend you don't use that. I would, just randomly like that. I would save it for like a boss battle or something because ethers are not that hard to, or not that easy to come by. So these enemies showing up is kind of annoying. I'm going to do darkness with Cecil. And I'm going to just do Blizzard, I guess, with Rydia. Let's see if we can take them out before they can use that annoying Osmos ability. Okay, well at least they targeted Cecil with it that time. What's that? No, they did it again. Let's see. Okay, 19. Well, I guess it's just kind of random then how much it does. Oh well, couldn't defeat him fast enough. But that's okay. So I kind of wasted that ether there. I should have... Oh, she finally hit. So you can see how weak her damage is from her normal attack. So if that should be enough to clue you in, like, okay, don't attack with her because it's kind of useless. I mean, it did the last 6 damage needed to defeat that enemy, which is kind of funny, but you know. But also, if you paid attention to, I wasn't paying attention to the numbers, but if you paid attention to how much damage that they did with those attacks, when she only did 6, that helps you really narrow down, like, okay, this, whatever damage was done to that particular enemy up to this point, plus 6 was enough to defeat it. So that gives you a really small range. So you can almost guarantee how much HP that enemy has now if you were paying attention to the numbers. I wasn't, but again, that's something you can do to just kind of get a sense, like, okay, this character or this enemy only has 50 MP or 50 HP or whatever it is. So you can learn little things like that. So Rita's level 6 now. I'm gonna just get her one more level, and then we'll move on. I don't want to drag on the the grinding for levels too bad for the sake of the video here. But I think just a little bit more will help her survive a little bit. And we won't always have those Osmos enemies, thankfully. Like, see, here's goblins, so we don't have to worry about them sucking away her MP anymore. So, okay, so 6. So that's really surprising. So we saw she just did 6 damage to that goblin, and she defeated it. So goblins are so weak that they don't even have 10 HP. So we've narrowed that number down even further for them. We know 6 HP was enough to defeat this goblin. So that's a super negligible amount of HP. And that's funny because I talked about that in the first video too. That they, we tried to guess where the HP levels were at based on the damage of the attacks that Kane and Cecil were doing, but now it's even lower. We saw that Rydia was able to defeat one. Okay, here we have a slightly more interesting enemy here. So now we've only got a single enemy in here, and it's a sandworm, and it's a bigger one. So that means that this enemy is a little bit tougher, because usually they don't just give you one enemy by themselves unless they're more of a challenge. So let's see what this thing has in store for us here. It does a tornado attack. Okay, it only did 1. I'm not sure why it only did 1. I feel like there's some other trick to that, like it could do more. I don't remember what it is still off the top of my head. Let's try doing Blizzard on it. Maybe it's a status effect that causes or something. 51? No? Okay, well, that's strange. Huh. I don't remember that being so weak. I remember that being more obnoxious for some reason. I think there's a trick to it or something though, so Rydia only needs 2 more experience. She's super close to leveling up. I'm going to get her one more level. And when I go in here, I'm going to use her Cure Magic really quick on the whole party. So you can see target all, so left or right. So you can do the same thing when you're in the battle. What I will say though, I don't think I mentioned this yet, but with healing up the party, you almost always want to use magic first rather than items, because unless you have a huge excess of items, like, unless, I'll just say go in here, unless I had like 50 potions or something, and there's no way I'm going to run out anytime soon. This is kind of a limited supply, and the reason you want to use magic first is because MP is easier to recover than items, especially when you're in a dungeon. Because not only do you have ethers and things like that, but you could use a tent at certain places in a dungeon or right outside the dungeon entrance, whatever, to completely refill your MP. And it's a lot easier to restore MP, and that will go a longer way with curing using magic. So use magic first if you can. And the other reason to not use items first is because even characters that can't use magic, like Cecil, he can use a potion item to heal in a battle, whereas Rydia could use potions or her cure magic. So it's better to use the cure magic because that's a renewable resource that's easy to restore. While potions, you technically could find more in a treasure chest or get some dropped from enemies, or you could go all the way back to a town and buy more from a shop. They're a little bit more difficult to restore that resource, to refill it in the middle of a longer dungeon or something like that. So it's better to use magic first when you can. So just a little tip there from someone that's played RPGs for decades. Favor your magic users. Let them do their thing first, and you know, let them use their magic more, because it's a lot easier to restore MP than it is to restore a stock of items. So a lot of this will just be like experimentation, using a spell on an enemy to see if it damages them a lot or just a little. Then you can see, like, okay, we saw what that Thunder did, now we'll see what Blizzard does to these guys. So Blizzard did way more damage to them, so there's a good example. They are very weak to ice damage, and they had a resistance, or maybe it was normal amount of resistance, whatever, to lightning damage instead. So those guys, we learned, definitely use ice magic on them, because it just destroys them. So that's helpful. So Rydia learned Hold, so she learned a white magic spell. So now we've got level 7. This is a good spot for the video. I'm just going to keep going at this point. No more grinding for levels. We're good from here. We go back, and we got another antidote item from those enemies. I'm going to go back to town real quick. One more rest at the inn to make sure we're all full and ready to go. So that's, like I said, you just kind of experiment when you have a new enemy type and say, okay. And now that we saw that, we can remember with those guys, like, oh man, that made a big difference using ice magic on them. So there's no point in using Thunder, and you always want to use Blizzard on those guys, it looks like. So we learned that too. And you'll do that, those sorts of things will happen as you play. It'll just happen normally. You'll see patterns and tricks, and you'll say, oh, okay, that worked really well on that type of enemy, so now I know what to use on them. And it just gradually progresses. So let's see if we can go a little further here. They said to the northeast, I think it was, there was a cave. Okay, so now we learned Blizzard on these guys. So preemptive strike means we get to go first. Definitely using Blizzard ice damage on these guys. Now spells have a casting time. That's one thing I've been trying to mention, but okay, so it did a lot of damage. It doesn't do that much damage to this other type of enemy though, Hund Legs. So it just did normal damage to him, and that's fine. He used the Earthquake ability again, so that does damage to all your characters, and wow, it did enough to just take Rydia out, unfortunately. So that's unfortunate. So she didn't gain any experience from that battle, and that was the bad thing about that Earthquake ability. It attacks the whole party, not just one character, and it does a lot of damage. So, despite what I said, let's go right back to town. Sometimes this will happen, but it's easier to restore at the inn than waste your items, like I said. Once you get further in the game and you have a ton of items, this won't matter. You won't have to do this so much. But early on, when it's, you're limited on resources, you're limited on gil, you don't have a lot of items stocked up yet, then what you do have is kind of crucial to get you through the stronger battles and things, the boss battles and stuff. So I keep trying to get to that one topic, and it keeps eluding me, but another battle. Alright, so sometimes random battles will come up pretty quick, and that's a little bit annoying, but there's not much you can do about it. Counter rates are sometimes high in certain areas. But so we'll just keep making progress as best we can here. Let's head into this into this cave, underground waterway, south entrance. Okay, so let's do some exploring here. We're in another area, and we've got some, just contain potion. So this time I'm going to try to get everything. I know I skipped some stuff in the mist cave, but that's not generally what you want to do. So here we got some new kinds of enemies. I'll just use Blizzard on them all just to start out. Vile Shell ×3 and Water Bug. So Water Bug is the one in the back, and the Vile Shells are these other ones. So casting time, that's what I keep trying to talk about. I remember now. So casting time. Spells have casting times. All the ones so far that Rydia's got are fast. They've been happening really quick, and there hasn't been a long wait. But you see how she's like chanting quietly with her eyes closed and stuff. That's usually called chanting or channeling a magic spell. And stronger spells in the game will require more casting time, and so they might take a couple of turns. It's kind of like what we saw with Kane's jump ability, where he would have to jump in the air, and then it would take a couple turns before he landed back down and did his attack. It's the same kind of idea. Some spells will take longer to use. So we saw. Okay. So, wow, that was interesting. So Blizzard did not do very much damage to these guys at all. And then we saw this water bug in the back use a spell called Curaja. That's like Cure, but a stronger version of it. So it cured itself, basically, and for quite a bit of damage. So it negated what damage she did to it, what little damage she did. So some enemies will be able to do that. They'll be able to heal themselves or their other, party members, their other monsters, fellow monsters. So basically, in this battle, we have a healer on the opponent's team, just like Rydia is the healer for the party's team. So it's a good idea to focus on getting that healer out of there, because it'll just keep healing whatever damage you end up doing, and it'll make the battle more drawn out, and it'll take longer, take more HP away from your characters, require more resources to keep your characters healthy because the battle's more drawn out. So it's a good idea to focus on healers when you can. To take them out. Let's try Thunder, see if that does any better than Blizzard did. Remarkably so. Okay, so even though it was able to heal itself again, now we know Thunder is the magic to use against these enemies. It did much better damage. And here I can show you the difference between... Oh, never mind. No, I can't. It ran away. So when enemies run away like that, you don't get the experience or the gil for them, unfortunately. But now we know. Use Thunder Magic on them. That's where we learned that. What I was going to show you was the difference between targeting all the opponents with a magic spell and versus just targeting one, and how much damage it does. So next time we get in a battle like this, I'll do that. It says, Rydia learned Sleep. So she learned a new black magic ability. And she gained another level. And that's good. That makes her HP and MP go up. Those are all helpful things. So this time I'm going to get all the treasures that we can find. Chest contain Maiden's Kiss. Because generally when you're going through a dungeon, you want to gather all the treasures you can. You never know what's in them. There might be new equipment that makes your character stronger. There might be super helpful items in there. There might be a lot of gil that you can use back in town to get more stuff. So it behooves you to explore and gather as many of the treasures as you can. So Maiden's Kiss, it says, gives an ally of the Toad status. So that's another item like the antidote to use to cure a very specific status effect. So let's see how our characters are looking on HP. They're doing okay. And again, try not to use the items first if you can. Use magic instead. So we got Hold Magic is one she learned. It says causes paralysis. So even though this is white magic, it actually causes a status effect on the enemies, a negative status effect. And then let's see what Sleep was. It says causes sleep. So this is also a negative status effect on the enemies. Now, with status effects, they won't always be effective. They will basically miss a lot of times. They'll fail. Some enemies will be immune, especially bosses. They will be very immune to most status effects, like sleep or paralysis. Most bosses will not be affected by those, but you can use them against most normal enemies. And both of these, actually, sleep and paralysis, will basically make it so a monster cannot move and cannot attack, cannot act, basically. They won't have their turns, normally, for a little bit. Usually when they get hit by an attack, it will knock them out of those particular status effects, so they're not the greatest status effects ever. But they can be very helpful, especially if you have, for example, that water bug that we saw. You could put it into a paralysis status or put it to sleep, potentially. And then it would stop being able to cure with that Curaja ability. It would stop using that. It may not be able to retreat either, and you could hit it for something, hit it with a strong attack and make sure it is defeated instead of running away. So, it's just another approach you can use to battles to turn the battle in the player's favor. Oh, I forgot to heal, didn't I? Let's go to magic. I was going to cure up outside of battle. That way it's less hectic, and okay, my characters are pretty full. So, Rydia is only missing 1 HP, so using another instance of cure and using up her 3 MP is not worth it at that point. It's so negligible that just leave it out alone and save it for later until their HP is actually lower and it actually matters to it's actually a significant enough healing to make it worth the MP cost. Let's just explore here some more. We got okay, Gigan Toads. We haven't seen this enemy yet, but we got a preemptive strike, which means the player gets to go first. I'm gonna try. Now we see sleep costs a lot. It costs 15 magic points to use. So if I use this, that would be it. I wouldn't be able to use hardly anything else. I might be able to use one more spell after that. So that kind of puts a damper on your desire to use it versus these abilities that deal direct damage. Because it means you would just have no MP left. So I'm going to just try Thunder again. We saw that worked good on the last ones. Let's see if that works good on these guys or not. Nope, it really doesn't. So Thunder is not the one to use for these guys. And it may be that these ones are just magic resistant to begin with, and none of Viridia's abilities are going to do that much. Let's try Blizzard and see. Okay, so now... Okay, so... so that was... Two things happened there, and I'm not really sure which it was. Most likely they were weak to Blizzard, but also there was only one target left, so that changed into a single target instance of Blizzard. It was no longer targeting multiple characters, which makes the attack stronger by default. I was going to try to show you that in a better context, but it's okay. So see, it's gained a level here. Either way, we know that Blizzard did a lot of damage, so it worked out. So something interesting here, if you look close, really close at the bottom of the screen, you can see there's a little something going on there. This would be very easy to just walk up here and miss it. But if you go down a little bit, you'll see there's a treasure chest there, and you can see, it looked like this. You could sort of see that treasure, like the very top of it. So sometimes even though you have a little area back there that looks insignificant, it's worth it to pay attention to it because we may have missed that treasure chest otherwise. So make sure you're exploring every little nook and cranny. So here we have Killerfish. I remember these guys as being weak against Thunder, I think. Which is kind of interesting that I remember that. But so maybe here I can show you. I'll use it on all of them. Okay, so we saw there's 100 and whatever it did. And we'll see what we get next in the next battle. But first, let's go down here and get this treasure that was almost missed. This is the chest contained tent. So that's really good. Tents are really good. Tents are kind of like carrying around an inn in your pocket, but you have to find the right place to use them. It won't let you use them just anywhere in a dungeon. You could, of course, as we did before, you could use it anywhere outside on the world map. So if I wanted to go back out to the main entrance and use another tent, I could. I'm not going to do that right now, but that's one way you could do it, because we're not that far from the entrance. You just go back and go right out the front of the cave, and you can use the tent and restore and save outside. You can save anywhere on the world map. You can't save anywhere in a dungeon. Well, see, it's grayed out. So when you're in dungeons, there's only specific places you can use tents, cabins, and only specific places that you can save your game as well. And we'll see one of those here pretty soon. But first of all, let's go up here and talk to this guy. This is the old man blocking the way in the water cave that we learned about in the town. This is old man. Could that be? It is. The dark sword. Dark knight. I need your assistance. So Jesus says, what's wrong? I must get to Damsian to rescue my daughter. She was deceived by a wicked bard. So here's the old man, Tella, and his daughter Anna ran away with someone that, the old man says is a wicked bard. So we must hurry, for I sense an ill omen. Cecil says, you must be Sage Tella. He nods. Indeed, I am, says this is Tella. That girl, she is a summoner. Perfect. She can help too. A giant monster lurks in the lake ahead. That devil even withstands magic. We can defeat it if we work together, and then I can finally be on my way. We need to reach Damsian as well. Then let us make haste. Party joining fanfare. So, Sage Tella has joined the party, so we have a new character. And just like with Rydia, we see that our Sage friend Tella here is in the back row because he is also a magic user. And here we see he can use white magic and black magic. So he has even more options than Rydia has learned, and he has some stronger options here too. So, white magic, confuse, causes confusion, status effect. Blink, it says creates illusions of oneself to trick the enemy. So, confusion is an interesting status effect where not only does it, like with sleep and hold, that cause, paralysis, those abilities, they just kind of stop the enemy from taking action temporarily. Confuse, what it does is, as the name suggests, it basically confuses the enemy. So they will continue to take actions, but they might start attacking their teammates instead of the player, or they might use a random skill in a way that doesn't make any sense, like a cure on one of their teammates that's already at full HP, or things like that. They will just do things randomly. Most likely when they get hit by attacks, they will be knocked out of that confused status. They may even attack themselves. That's happened sometimes too. Target themselves with the attack. So this basically just disrupts things for certain enemies. Again, bosses will probably not, this will not work. In the huge majority of cases, status effects, negative status effects like this that are very disruptive or that make the enemies stop their ability to, take their turns or whatever, those will not work on bosses. So, most of the time. You can still try it, because there are certain cases where some bosses have a secret weakness to a specific status effect, but you won't really know that until you experiment and see what happens. So, Blink, though. Blink is an interesting one. It says, creates illusions of oneself to trick the enemy. So Blink kind of... what would I even say? It makes it so enemy attacks will miss. Most likely. For a short duration. So a couple of turns. So that one could be actually really useful. Because that doesn't matter whether or not an enemy is resistant to a status effect or whatever. It makes it so attacks will miss characters much more frequently. So this is good to use on a character that you don't want to get hit at all. Or if you just want to give yourself a little bit of an advantage in a battle. Like make it so that, you take less damage. You can use Blink. So Cura, it says restores HP. Now what that doesn't tell you is that it restores even more HP than regular Cure does. So this is actually the modern naming convention. It starts with Cure, and then it goes Cura, and then I believe the next one is Curaja, or is it Curaga? It's either a G or a J. I can't remember the order right now at the top of my head, but so it goes in stages. What they used to just call these is like Cure 1, Cure 2, Cure 3. It was a little more clear. But in the later Final Fantasies, they adopted this more fancy naming convention where it's like the basic thing, and then A at the end, and then Aga and Aja. So you'll eventually get used to it. But and it works with the other spells too, like Fire, Fira, Firaga, Firaja. I think that's how it goes. Just for an example, Blizzard, Blizzara, Blizzaga, Blizzaja. I don't know. I kind of like the simpler Cure 1, Cure 2, Cure 3, even though it's a little more plain and boring. It's not as exotic sounding, whatever. But anyways, so this is like second level Cure. That's pretty much what that is. So it's a stronger ability to cure. Esuna, this is a good one. It says cures all status effects except KO. So all those items that we have, like the antidote, the Maiden's Kiss, the stuff that cures individual, the eye drops is the one for blindness, darkness, whatever. Other ones that cure individual status effects. This white magic spell is like all of those combined. So it's super useful. Even though it costs a lot of MP, not only does it cure all the status effects, but it can cure multiples of them. So if your character has multiple status effects inflicted on them at the same time, it will cure them all. Except for KO. The only one that cures KO is life. Revives a single target. So, this is like a Phoenix down, but a magic spell that you can use instead. Super useful. You will probably use it quite a bit. Now, teleport is interesting. It says warps the party out of a dungeon or battle. So you can use teleport in a battle to escape a battle. If you're about to lose the game and you're about to get a game over and you're like, oh gosh, I can't escape, whatever, you can use this and it'll get you out of battle. That's kind of a rare use case for it. I almost never use it that way. But using it to get you out of a dungeon is super useful. Because you can be deep in a dungeon that's pretty long, and you're like, oh man, I gotta go back out so I can heal up or whatever. And I'm out of items, and I'm out of MP, whatever. So then you can use a teleport, and it just takes you right back to the entrance of the dungeon. So very useful. Let's take a look at the black magic here. So he's got fire and blizzard, just like, blizzard and thunder is what Rydia has. Sorry, but he also has fire. Deals fire damage. So that's the third element. Lightning, ice, fire. Those are the three main elements. So he also has a magic called Stop. It causes time to stop, halting the target's actions. This is kind of like a stronger version of... Like Rydia has Hold with the white magic and Sleep with the black magic. This is like full-on stop. Like, it's no matter what, enemies will stop. They will not be, they will not be able to take any actions. Even if they get hit by attacks, I'm pretty sure stop is still in effect after that, so it's even stronger, if I remember correctly. And here we see Osmos. Absorbs MP, so Tella has this ability. I thought it was a white magic. I didn't remember it was a black magic, but that's okay. That's his black magic category. And so you see it says MP cost 0. So even if he's completely out of MP, he can use Osmos here to absorb MP from enemies. So as long as an enemy has MP to begin with, he can restore his MP with this. And that is incredibly useful for magic users, because ethers, quite frankly, are rare at the start of the game. You don't get very many of them. They're expensive in the shops, so they'll take up all your gil. So having to rely on an ether to restore your magic in battle is okay if you need to, but this is much better if you can use this. Now, the downside to this spell is not all the enemies will have MP, just like how Cecil is not a magic user. He does not have a pool of MP that you can steal from. So, or absorb in this case. So, there's going to be times where you can't do anything with this, even when you can use it. But just that Tella has it at all is super useful. So he basically never needs to use an ether to restore his MP, as long as there's an enemy that he can absorb it from. So, and that's really useful for bosses, especially too. If you're running low on MP, you can just suck up a little of their MP if they have it, and you can keep using your spells on them and stuff like that. So it's very, very, very useful. That's one of the most, even though it seems like it would be boring or not that big of a deal, it's one of the most useful black magic spells that you're going to get in the game, because it'll keep your mages going without you having to use your precious ethers. And obviously you can use tents and restore it at inns and things like that too. So eventually, if I remember right, Rydia also learns Osmos. I'm pretty sure she does. It's just going to take her some more levels to get there. But we can see basically that Tella is a stronger, more accomplished mage than Rydia at this point. So, but Rydia is really good in her own way. So, okay, here I can show you this now, right? So it's got Tella. Let me show you. We saw last time what the thunder magic did when I cast it on all of them. Now I'm just going to cast it on a single opponent, and you can see the difference of damage it does between targeting all the enemies and targeting a single target. Let's do the middle one just for fun. Now we can see 356. So that's the difference. When you target every character or every enemy with a spell, the potency is greatly diminished, but on the plus side, it hits all the targets. All the targets will get affected by the spell. But if you really want to deal a ton of damage, now these ones are weak to thunder, lightning damage, so that's obviously why it did so much. It did 100 and something even when you targeted them all, and just targeting one it did 356 or whatever it was. So it really packs a punch. But when you want the damage to be higher, then you target a single opponent with the magic. And just in general, that's how that will work. Even if it's something they're more resistant to, it will still deal more damage just targeting one opponent than if you targeted all of them. So we'll just go ahead and use Thunder because we know they're weak against that. So now, telecast it, and there we go. They're taken care of, no problem. And now Rydia gained another level. So now that we have 3 characters in the party, I believe the experience is divided up even further, evenly between them, which, I don't know, that's weird. Most games don't do it that way. Most games will just show you a flat rate of experience, and then all the characters will gain whatever that was. But I guess the way they calculated it in this one, it does it a little differently. But so assuming that's the case, then the experience will go a little bit less far than it did when there was only 2 characters in the party. But now we have 3 characters in the party, which helps survivability, and you can do more damage with more characters. We got 2 spellcasters to help with healing and dealing damage to enemies right now, so that's really good. It'll make your party much more sturdy, and so there's a trade-off there. So Rydia is up to level 9 now. She didn't learn a spell this time, but that's okay. She got more HP, more MP, and some more stats. Boost stamina and more magic damage and defense. So those are all good things. So let's go. Let's see. Which is the way? I'm going to go this way first. Trying to remember the path to this dungeon here. I think I generally remember this one. So this one's pretty cool because it goes into the... Okay, we've got this battle again. Good. So Rydia's out of magic, so... we only have 1 ether left. I'm going to save that ether. So I'm going to do one other thing I haven't gotten to do yet, so... I haven't tried yet. So we notice what we do, the more commands. I'm just pausing the action here so they're not destroying our characters in the process here. So when I press left, when we're back on the main set of commands... that's how you can change to rows. You can change rows of the characters. But if you press to the right instead for more commands, it actually shows a defend. And I'm going to have Rydia defend. Because right now, she doesn't have any MP to use her spells. We already know her attack power is really low. So there's not really too much she can do with her turn right now until she gets more MP again. So defend, what it does, a character will put up, they'll take a defensive stance. And it will further reduce the damage they take. It's most of the time you don't need to do it, and I would even argue it's a waste of a turn in most cases. That you're just wasting your turn because you're still going to take some damage from attacks if enemies attack you, but you're not going to do any damage to anything. You're just kind of standing there and waiting. But with the improved defense, it will reduce the amount of damage you take. So I'm going to have Rydia defend. Because right now she can't really do that much unless I wanted to have her use an item on the character or something. I could do that. Like, hey, use a potion on, Cecil or whatever. But the HP is not that low, so... so since I don't have an item to use with her, I know her main attack is weak. And she's out of MP, so she can't use any of that. So defend makes sense right now in this exact circumstance. And honestly, this is probably the only reason why defend would make sense. Just about. You're rarely going to use that ability. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I hit right, and it shows the defend menu. So she's defending now. You can see she puts up her guard. Her arm is in front of her, and so she's defending. So now if she gets attacked, she'll take less damage than normal, which is good, because you don't want her to just sit there like a sitting duck. So Cecil, he can just attack. Now I did want to show you also, and we already saw it a little bit, but was it Blizzard on these guys? I think it was, or was it Thunder that they were weak? I think it was... I don't remember now. I think Thunder was the other guys. I don't know. Let's try it. Let's try Blizzard, just because I can't remember. Now, it tried to get me to target... I just want to target the water bug on its own. It tried to get me to target all of them. Was it Blizzard here? No, I think it was Thunder. So see, now he cured a random, teammate there, but... I'm going to have radio defend again. Cecil can attack. Now let's try the thunder. I think it was thunder here. Let's see if it does the water bug. Stronger damage. It should be stronger damage because it's just one target. Yeah, okay. Thunder. Well, he may not have a strong weakness, actually. Okay. But you can see just in general, it did pretty good damage there because it was single target versus multi-target. So I don't even remember what recall does. Let me see. Recall. I want to see what that ability does. I don't remember what it does. Toad. Okay, so he casted a Toad ability, so this does a random... So we can see a status effect there. So that's our first status effect we've seen on enemies, actually. Toad is a fun one, because it actually changes them into a Toad graphic visual there. But so they have the Toad status now. I'm going to leave that one alive, so you can just kind of see what it does. It'll attack, and it does 1, and that's pretty much all it does. I think if you hit it with anything, it goes back to normal, though. So it won't be able to use its abilities right now, I don't think, and it'll just attack. And it'll be weak every time. I'm surprised she missed. We can see with Tella, he also missed. So he's kind of like Radio, where he's not going to do a lot of damage with his normal attacks. But Cecil's attack worked. Yeah, so it looked like they only had 120 something experience each. So it is dividing it up into thirds now that there's 3 characters in the party for the experience. It's kind of what I thought, but... Here we got an alidote? No. We got an antidote and a mallet. Put those 2 words together. Are you breathing? I know, I'm sorry. I've been really bad about reminding everyone about the breathing technique, but I hope you're able to do it even when I'm talking. I hope you're able to breathe and focus on your breath. Feel your breathing. Feel your body, because it's important, especially when you're like me and you get going off on these tangents and your mind just starts running amok. It's much better if you can just slow down your mind, and to do that you just focus on your breath. It's an excellent way to slow down your mind. Usually your mind just runs and runs and runs. You can use it in like the middle of the night when you wake up and your mind just starts racing. Use this breathing technique when you're just lying in bed. Ask yourself, am I breathing right now? How do I know? I can feel the breath going in and out of my body. And then just take a couple breaths that way. 1 breath, 2 breaths, 3 breaths. Feel your breath. In and out. And it will help you. It will calm your mind down. It will stop the racing thoughts. So, this is kind of cool. If I remember right. Now, you saw we went down the stairs. Now, we're actually walking in this little shallow water here, which is pretty neat. Most areas don't let you do that. But if you go up through this bridge area... Okay, never mind. You can't actually go that way. I thought you could, but... There's a way up there. You saw that treasure chest back up there. There's a way to get to it. Is it through the waterfall here? Yeah, okay, it was the waterfall was the trick. Okay, I knew there was a secret to get back there. I thought it was the bridge there. But you can see that bridge... has the little, I don't know what the word for that is called, but it's got the structure below it where it's kind of blocking you from being able to walk under it. It's got the supports and things, but this one doesn't have that, this little bridge here. So it's up higher in the air is what that's telling you. But you saw this little treasure chest up here as you were walking by, and it seems inaccessible because the rocks jut out too far. There's no way to reach it, but then there's that little stairway under it that's... It's like, well, you can come up from the water here, but how do you get up here? So this just happens to be a secret where you can walk up the waterfall. That's not normal. Most waterfalls you're not going to be able to walk up. But the game will hide things like that sometimes. And if you're careful in checking things out, like, okay, there's got to be a way to reach that. And it may not be walking up the waterfall. It might be something else. Like, I'll show you some examples. Like, it could be coming from the left here, where you can sort of see... If you look real close, like, there could be a gap, like right where Cecil's standing underneath that bridge to the left. Maybe there was a passage there. There might have been a passage this way, but there's this rock in the way. Like, maybe you could have come from behind the wall, or, you know, there'll be secrets like that, too. There are false walls, actually, in the game. There's not very many of them, but they do hide things in certain places where it'll look like a wall, but you can actually walk where it's dark. I personally do not prefer that kind of secret, because if you're just playing normally, there's no way you're going to know about that. There's absolutely no way you're going to be able to distinguish one wall from another without some kind of clue. And so it feels not great whenever they do false walls like that. But this game does have some. And there are some really hidden secrets with some really good items hidden behind a false wall, basically. So you can walk down a hallway and it'll be off into the right in the black area where you would think there's nothing there. But just like that, there's a waterfall you can walk up here. Now this item, yeah, see? It says contain iron armlet. So that was a really good item to just receive randomly like that. Let me see, actually. Okay, so Cecil can equip it. It's not one for him. So it's one probably for Rydia, or yeah. So it's actually what she already has equipped. Let me see if Tella has one or not. So he doesn't have one. So I'm gonna hit optimal on Tella. You can see it equipped the iron armlet. So that did some good stuff. It increased some of his stats. It says defense +2, evasion +10, magic defense +2, magic evasion +1. So it gave him a free piece of equipment. Now you could have purchased one of these back at the shop ahead of time if you knew you were going to get another character, but you didn't know that. So this is kind of a higher value item that they hid behind this little trick to walk up the waterfall. Normally you would get like a potion or, an antidote or something, but this is a better treasure that they're giving players, but you have to figure out the trick to it, which is you can walk up this waterfall. Now normally you would not think you could do that. I happen to remember that there was a trick to this. I didn't remember what it was. I thought it was go behind the bridge and then cross over, but instead it was walk up the waterfall. So now you know that there's that trick. But now that you've learned that trick, you can say, hey, wait a minute. Maybe there's other waterfalls I can walk into. So I'll have Rydia attack, even though it's kind of useless. So I think recall with Tella, it does like a random magic spell. I think that's what that does, if I'm remembering correctly. Let's use thunder on these guys, because we know the fish at least are very weak to thunder. Magic? Lightning magic? Whatever. Okay, and the other guy too, it looked like, too, the other enemy type. So thunder seems to be the magic to use in this dungeon. And that's how they'll do that. They'll usually do that by themes. Like, okay, well, enemies in this dungeon might be weak to thunder magic, or the next dungeon they might be weak to fire magic. They won't always do it that way, but often. So now here it looks like you might be blocked. Like, hey, I can't move any further because I can't go through here. But you can actually go under this bridge. Even though it looks like it's kind of a wall, it's not. Sort of like the other bridge we already saw. So you can go this way. And it looks like there's nothing, but... Oh, zombies, okay. So this is a new enemy type we haven't seen. Now, zombies, this is a convention, but they're going to be weak to fire. I just remember that, but... and you'll know that, if you don't know that, you'll learn it by the same way. Process of elimination, experimenting, you hit them with blizzard magic, you hit them with thunder magic, and it does so-so, and then you go to hit them with fire magic, and you'll see it does quite a bit. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not remembering correctly here. That's interesting. Oh, okay, that's what it was. It was magic in general. That's what I'm remembering. Well, okay. It's been a while, folks. I apologize. I'm a little rusty on some of the details. So, you saw Cecil attack the zombie and it did 1. So this is an example of an enemy that's super resistant to normal attacks. So Cecil's useless in this battle. And you're reliant on your magic users. Let's try thunder here, see if that does any better. Maybe it is thunder again. Nope. Maybe it was fire. They're weaker to thunder. So Cecil's not doing anything to these guys. So this is kind of interesting because there's not usually cases like this too often where your normal attacks are useless. Let's try a blizzard. Maybe it was blizzard. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was nothing that they were weak against, just magic in general. Yeah, okay, so it's all about the same. Okay. I thought it was going to be fire, but it's not. So, that was a type of enemy where you got to have your magic users in good position to be able to use their spells, because otherwise you're not going to be able to defeat that thing. Those zombies are not going to go down with just 1 damage HP, from normal attacks. So Rydia learned Dispel, reached level 10. She's learned Poison. Looks like we got a lot of good boosts here. She's finally over into the triple digits on her HP, so that's really helpful. She's got some more strength. So Poison is an interesting one where it's a status effect that's pretty common. I'm surprised we haven't had it on our characters yet, actually. It says causes poison. Well, what it does is it'll give the target a status of poison, and then every turn they will gradually lose some HP until it's restored, until the status is cured. So that one actually directly affects a lot of enemies. That one is one that will actually work on a lot of bosses too. That's not one. A lot of them will be immune to it also, but some it will work because it's not like so drastic a detriment for a boss to have that the game designers have said, okay, you can't ever use this on them, whatever. So poison is one you might be able to use from time to time on bosses. So HP is looking a little rough here, especially for Rydia. I'm going to go ahead and use Cura on the party. And everybody will be definitely healed with that because it's a stronger heal than Cure. So what I was talking about before with the walking up the waterfalls, if we do that here, right in the middle, they hit another really good secret. It says Hidden Chamber. This one's even called a Hidden Chamber. So don't get too used to being able to walk up waterfalls. It's kind of, I will say this dungeon for sure, there's a couple instances like this. But outside of that, the game's not going to let you do that very much. It's sort of a really good hidden secret that they added for this one. And this whole dungeon serves as ways that they show you as the player, like, hey, we can trick you with certain sneaky things that you weren't anticipating like this. So you could totally miss this. You could totally miss that other treasure chest if you don't think to try to walk up a waterfall, which why would you think to try to do that normally? But there's some good stuff in here. This chest contained dry ether. This chest contained X potion. And this chest contained the Phoenix Down. So, Phoenix Downs we've already seen, but dry ether and X potion, these are crazy strong. It says recovers MP. It's like a stronger version of an ether, and an X potion restore. If I remember right, X potions restore 100% of a character's HP. So these are both really rare late game items that you won't see again for a long time, probably, unless you find some other hidden secret area like this. So you might be tempted to use them right away, but I would say don't. Save them if you went in here and got these. These are going to be much more useful to you late game, later in the game. And eventually you will be able to acquire these more normally. But for now, use them in only as a last-ditch effort, desperate, I really need to get my MP back, or I really need to get my HP back, or I'm going to lose this battle kind of situation. Otherwise, save them, because you'll get much more use of them later on when everybody's HP is a lot higher, and normal ethers don't restore your MP for anything anymore, and you have to use a dozen of them to heal your character's MP to full. Then you want to use one of these dry ethers at that point in the game. It's much later, much more useful later on. So I would recommend saving those. Hold on to them. And you're not going to know that as a new player. You're just not. It's just one of those things that comes with experience. Because I've played through these games already, I know what these are, what they're for, why it's a good idea to hold on to it versus when it's okay to use it. I just have a better sense of that. So let's go over here. We passed through this sneaky bridge, and now it looks like a dead end. So now you might be thinking, well, what the heck? Where do I go? What do I do? But here, like I was talking about, those false walls, and I forgot that they actually gave you one right this early, but right over here, it looks pretty square. You can see the tile is totally square. It's the best hint that they give you that something might be up over here, and this is literally all they tell you. So if I move left right here on this one tile that's square, oh, it's not going to do it? Oh, wow. Okay, never mind. I thought for sure that was a walk through the wall. I'm thinking of somewhere else. Interesting. Okay. Never mind. I apologize. I thought for sure it was right there. It may be in a different spot. Let me see. Man, I thought... I must be confusing this with the later dungeon or something. So we can see the poison ability. It only costs 2 MP, so that's not so bad. She can actually use it. I'm going to try using it on one of these enemies and see if it works. You can just see what it does. That's funny. I had all that build up and... Okay, so it seems like it affected that enemy. They didn't... It didn't say miss. Usually it'll say miss if it didn't work. Let's see if they get poison damage here on their next turn. You should see a number just randomly pop up on them if they took poison damage. Let's find out. Well, it's not doing it, so maybe they were immune to it or it didn't affect them. Usually there'll be some kind of indicator to say like, oh, it missed, or oh, it didn't work. Huh, but they're not taking any damage, so I guess they're not poisoned. Sometimes it'll show like a little icon or something, like might be like some bubbles that appear above their head or something like that to give you a better visual indicator that they've been poisoned, but this enemy might be immune to poison. So is it just that it was a different spot and I'm misremembering? Let me just check the walls here. Might be another spot. No, okay, so it was just... I thought for sure you could walk through that wall. Anyway, sorry about that. I misremembered there. I must be confusing it with another part. But so areas like that look a little slightly suspicious, you could say maybe that's a little, like, hey, wait a minute, is this somewhere I can move? That's literally how that works when you have the situation with the false walls. Like, it'll be something like that where it looks like maybe you could walk to the left there, and you literally will move into the wall. You won't be able to see your character anymore. And there will be a pathless way that you can walk through, basically invisible. Oh, you got turned into a toad. She has toad status now. And now, so this is a victory dance with the toad status. Alright. So we have an item to cure that. That's not one that we'll normally cure. Like you see, she's even got the toad icon for her picture, which is funny. So we do have the item. That's Maiden's Kiss. So it says cures an ally the toad status. But if you'll remember, we have with Tella, white magic, we have Asuna here. Or Asuna, however you pronounce it. It says cures all status effects except KO. So even though it costs a lot of MP to do, it may be more beneficial to use that versus the item. But in this case, I'm just going to use the one Maiden's Kiss that we have because I know that's, it's not a very expensive item to get another one of, and we'll probably find some more in here at some point. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And it cures Rhea of her toad status. So Mallet is another one. It says cures an ally of Mini. Mini is another status effect. It makes a character shrink down to tiny, sort of like the toad, and it makes them take way more damage when they get hit, and it makes their attacks do nothing pretty much. So it's kind of a frustrating one to have. Let's check out the HP. Okay, HP is looking good. We don't have to worry about that. Alright. Oh, I never mentioned this before, but quick save. That's a feature that was not in the early games, but it's a modern convenience. If I go ahead and do that, it says save your progress, so it says yes. Go ahead. So we haven't actually saved for a good bit, but we can just quick save. Just quick save complete. So a quick save. If you need to. Like, if you're in a hurry and you need to, like, stop playing and you're not anywhere where you can save, like right now we can't save because we're not at a save point in a dungeon and we're not outside on the world map. So we can't just save anywhere. So that's what the quick save feature is helpful for. It's one dedicated save slot where the game automatically, most games, modern games will automatically make quick save files for you as you progress. Otherwise, you can manually make one like I just did by going to this quick save option. So if you had to like get up, like, okay, I got an appointment, I gotta go, whatever, I gotta go into town, I gotta stop playing right now, and I'm not at a convenient place where I can save my progress, you can use this quick save feature and then access it from the load screen. We can see at the top here, it says quick save. And so that's how we know that we can do that if we need to. So it doesn't look like it made one automatically in this particular game. A lot of them will. They'll make an auto save or quick save, whatever. But quick save, if I go to load this, it says load this data file. I'm going to go ahead and hit yes because I just made that save, so I'm not going to lose any progress. It says now loading. And so let me just double check that. If it's, oh, it is still there. Some games when you load a quick save, it'll erase the quick save, but it doesn't look like it did. So, okay. So now when you go to load, if you needed to save in the middle of the dungeon, and you can see helpfully in the picture, like, hey, you're standing in the middle of the water in the dungeon, and it says you're in the underground waterway, south entrance. So, and so that's just a more convenient way to save. It's a save anywhere feature that they've added as a modern convenience, which is really nice if you need it. However, there's only a single save slot for quick save, so you'll have to keep that in mind. So if you save another quick save, it will overwrite your quick save that you have. So that's one way you can do it if you need to. But I'll show you the proper way to save here pretty soon. We're almost at that spot. So I want to go back and progress over here to this other side we didn't reach. And we got a preemptive strike. So Viridia is totally out of MP, so she can't use any of her spells. Tella's using a lot of his stuff, but he's running pretty low on MP now too, because he's been, carrying the battles with all the magic use and everything. So here pretty soon characters are going to need some way to restore their HP and MP and everything. And so we came from this direction originally, and then we went to the right. So both of these paths just kind of funnel you this way. And I thought that other one was the way forward, but I'm misremembering, and that's my fault. I apologize for that. So if we go into this area here, there's an underground waterway B2, so we're in another floor. Now we see we can't go this way. So the game kind of guides you with like the layout of everything too. So where it's like you can go here, but you can't go there. These guys was it thunder on these guys or was it blizzard? I forget now. Let's just do this and see. Here goes thunder. No, it wasn't thunder on these guys. These guys were the blizzard ones maybe. I'm going to just try Osmos on this guy and see if he has any magic to steal. I can see here, this one has a little bit longer casting time. You see, it took Tella a little bit longer. No, so it did 0 damage and he healed 0 MP. So this enemy doesn't have magic points to absorb. So we'll find one that does eventually. So it's pretty straightforward here. So now we can go to the right again over here. Underneath the bridges. Some of them they don't let you, obviously, but I'm just going to have Viridia defend so she doesn't keep taking damage. And these guys, we remember for sure, are thunder. They're weak to thunder. So. Tella's running out of magic points. Almost gaining another level. Now, was there anything in here we could do? Now, see, this one we can't go into. These waterfalls don't do anything, so there's nothing over here, right? Is this where the secret hidden wall was? We can literally bump against the wall. So this is the stupid, frustrating part about the hidden wall thing, is you literally just have to do this. I keep checking all the walls. Is this a hidden wall? So, because there's no visual distinction, and that's what I don't like about the whole hidden wall thing. Alright, now we know for sure there's an enemy here that's got some magic points, and that's the one in the back there, the water bug. So let's have Tella, since he's down to only 14 magic points, let's have him use Osmos on this enemy in the back here, the water bug. And that should absorb some MP, because we know it uses that Kuraja healing spell. And so there we go, it's like 15, so he restored 15 MP by doing that. So I can just basically keep having Tella do that over and over, because it costs 0 MP for him to use Osmos, so it doesn't cost him anything to use this ability. And now that we found a target that it applies to, we can use this as an opportunity to restore his MP for free, basically, without having to use an ether or find a place where we can use a tent or go back to town to heal at the inn or anything like that. Now, obviously, this has its limitations. See, so there's 0, so it automatically did that. So it did the 0 MP. So And this is just for balance purposes. So you can't just keep absorbing more and more and more MP over and over from the same enemy. Now the opponent is still able to use that Kiraja skill even though it has no MP left, and that's not normal. That's just a advantage that they give to monsters. Players cannot do that. Obviously, if I'm out of MP, I can't use Cure Spell or anything like that with Rydia right now. So that's more of a game design thing to make this enemy more interesting. But there are some enemies where that is a viable approach to disabling them, is by taking away their MP. And if they're very heavy on casting spells or whatever, and you can take away their MP with Osmos and abilities like that, not only does it restore your party's MP, but it also makes it so they can't use their spells anymore. And it will sometimes even say, like, not enough MP or whatever when they try to use it. And so that's one way that you can disable enemy spellcasters and things. So, Rydia and Cecil both gained a level. Tella is still a really long way from his next level. And I forgot to even check what Tella's level was. It might even be significantly higher than these two. Alright, so that was Rydia's level, and that was Cecil's level right there. So you see, sometimes they don't get very many stat increases. Like, both of them on this level didn't get a whole bunch of strength, agility, stamina, and they didn't get boosts to that. Cecil just got an HP boost after this level, so sometimes it works like that, too. It's just for game. Yeah, he's level 20, Tella. That's kind of what I thought with his next level being so high like that. So he's actually significantly higher level than both of these characters. Which it makes sense, because he has more potent spells than Rydia does, and he has a lot of HP and all that. So just gonna have her defend. So you saw that when she defended that attack, it only did 1 damage. So that's what's really nice about defend. It's not always going to reduce damage to 1, but it's going to significantly decrease the amount of damage that she's taking. Let's just do thunder on all of them. That's fine. So he cured himself. Now let's see if we can take this one out before it retreats. Ooh, a critical hit. That'll help. Let's do thunder again. On a single target. It does good damage. Alright. So we get more gil and experience if we can take that water bug opponent out. That's why I was so focused on trying to take it down before it did its retreat. So it's not that big of a deal, but it does help. Every little bit helps. Got a treasure here. Oh, we got another ether. So actually, since we did get one just for free there, and we're not down to 0, I'm going to go ahead and use that on Rydia so she can get back into action. And we can see she has a 67 maximum MP, and the ether restored 50 from 0. So ethers restore 50 magic points. That's what we just learned. They won't restore any more than that. So there we are. Now we know it's 50 MP per ether. If I had used the dry ether, it would have restored all of it and then some. But I'm not going to use that. It's too precious an item to use this early in the game. So now she's able to help in battles again now. So that makes her a little bit better off. Black magic, so she can use thunder. I just want to compare their damage directly if I can. So thunder, so 276 and 365. So that is likely just a difference in their levels. Rydia's level 11 now, I believe it is, and Tella's level 20. So Tella's stats are higher, which means he does more damage with his spells. And, Rydia's working her way up there, so it's just a difference between the level gap. Like, if she was level 20, her Thunder Spell would probably have done something close to what Tella's did as well. So Alright, so we've got one more battle here, and then we see a door. Oh, it's a back attack. Okay, so this is... Okay, the back attacks. Now you see the rows are reversed. Rydia and Tella are in the front row, and Cecil's now in the back. So that's not good. That's the opposite of what you want, because they're going to take... Your spellcasters are now going to take more damage because they're up front. Their normal attacks might do more damage, but it's not a significant amount more. Whereas the amount of damage that they will be taking being in the front row is significant enough that you want to stop that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit left from this command menu to change the row, and it affects all the party, and now they switch back to how it should be. Now Cecil's in the front row, and the other characters are in the back row, which is better for their spellcasters so they don't take so much damage. Now I'm going to use our summon again. We haven't used this one for a while. Cast Chocobo Kick, which attacks one enemy. I thought there was a way to get this one to attack all enemies. I guess not. I remember something else. Alright, so scratch that. Never mind. I thought it was one you could make attack multiple enemies. Let's see if poison is single target. Oh no, it's all targets. Okay, so you can target poison. Let's try this and see if we can get this to work on any of these enemies. Doesn't look like it takes effects. That's weird. Some of them will be affected by it, and others I guess won't. But it also has a hit rate too, so it could just be a matter of it missing. But usually I think it's just like miss when it does that or something. I don't know. It just depends on the game. Some games handle it differently. Anyways, most of the time with status effect stuff, they can be helpful to use in certain battles, but more often I feel like you are going to want to use spells that actually damage opponents directly. It's just a more useful way to use your MP. So here we've got a room that we enter, and this is kind of a special room here, just a first time to see it. We'll go through, and then Tella says, we'll rest here. So they actually made it a little story sequence here, just to kind of show you that that's what these kinds of rooms are for. It won't always be in its own isolated individual room like this, but this is a save point. This is what it's called. It says this magic field repels all monsters. You can save and use a tent or a cottage in here. Oh, so it's a cottage. I thought it was called a cabin. Maybe something they changed in the translation, or I'm just misremembering. Anyway, so a cottage is like a stronger tent, basically, item. It refills all your character's HP and MP. And tent refills HP and MP up to a certain point. So you can save and use a tent. So this is a save point. This is what you will find in dungeons. This is where you can heal your party easily with tents. Or if you have items, if you don't have a tent, you could use potions and ethers and whatever you need to use to heal up. And then you can save your game normally here. Now, like I showed you already, the modern releases of these games have the quick save feature, which was not available in the earlier releases of this game. So, like back when it originally came out, that quick save wasn't even a thing. It didn't even exist yet, the concept of it. So, most games did not let you save at any point, and you had to wait for these save points in dungeons. So, here's where you want to save up. It says, let's use my tent to rest and prepare for the upcoming battle. So you don't even have to use your own item for this first one. Tella's going to use a tent that he carried, I guess. But it's just showing the player that's what tents are for. You can rest and recover. If you made it this far in the dungeon, they're giving you a point where you can take a break, and so this is a save point. So it's just like if you were out on the world map and you're using a tent there to recover, same thing. But there's some story added here. It says, the girl is asleep already. She must have been exhausted. Who is she? And he says, a summoner from the village of Mist. And Tella says, she holds great potential. With proper training, she'll be able to master many spells. So he recognizes that as a sage himself, as a strong magic user himself, he recognizes that great potential that Rydia has to become a strong magic user too. Just look at her, so sweet and innocent. She reminds me of Anna at that age. And then Cecil says, who is Anna? So, if you didn't talk to any of the townsfolk back in Kaipo, this is your first introduction to the name Anna, and you would be like, well, who is that? So that's why it's presented this way. But we already got a little glimpse of a little bit about Anna, Tella's daughter, and their rocky relationship right now because we talked to folks around the town. So we got a little more story details. And Tella says, my daughter, she eloped with a bard to Damsian because I didn't consent to their union. So we get a little bit of stuff going on here. Tell me, what business have you in Damsian? And Cecil says, a friend of mine has been struck down by desert fever. So, I'm not going to go back and load an old save to show you this. That would be crazy. That would be crazy loss of progress. But if you didn't end up finding Rosa in Kaipo, and you try to go into this water cave, Tella will actually shoo you away and block your progress. He won't let you go this way. He'll say, like, it's too dangerous up ahead. There's a beast in these caverns. Kind of the same things we learned from town about the serpents or whatever, the 8 serpents that they're supposed to be in here. He would actually prevent the player from progressing. He would be the locked door. And the key to unlock that locked door is going back to Kaipo and visiting that house and seeing that Rosa has been struck by desert fever and talking to the old man. She needs the sand ruby. So that's the key. And then since we did that already before we even came here, everything progressed naturally. And so you don't realize that there's that locked door in your way. But so that would have happened. So, and then Cecil's explaining here, a friend of mine has been struck down by desert fever. So, and he says, so you seek the sand ruby. It won't be easy to obtain. So Tella already knows what's going on with that. And so you had to have seen that story plot point. You had to have seen that Rosa is struck down by the desert fever. She needs a sand ruby. That way you know what the motivation is to continue the progress past this point. And once you know that, then Tella joins the party, and then you get to go through this dungeon. So that's something we just kind of bypassed it by doing it the natural way. But if you hadn't explored Kaipo enough, you would have missed that detail. And then you would have had to backtrack from the entrance of this dungeon until you go see that particular little scene. So I said, but first, there's the small matter of a vicious monster that needs taken care of. A frightful creature it is, with 8 enormous tentacles. We must kill it and reach Damsian before it's too late. So, and Cecil says, too late for what? He says, I don't know. I only pray my instincts are wrong. So Tella has this foreboding premonition that something wrong, something bad's going to happen. So he's just trying to, write it off, hope it's nothing crazy, but it actually might be, or he thinks it is. It says, a magical field allows the use of tents and cottages in this area. You can also save your progress. So the game's telling you directly, you can save your game. And to do that, you walk on this little thing, and it says, a magical field allows you... So it repeats it. So the screen flashes, but it's just a way to tell you you're at a save point. So, and now you can see all the characters have restored HP and MP. They're all full up. And now the save option is highlighted here. So we can use the normal save. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to save on file 2 because it's been quite a bit from that. So go ahead and overwrite the save. And now if I needed to, I have this previous save where I can go all the way back to, over an hour ago, just a little bit over an hour ago. If I needed to go back and go, I missed something really important and I need to go back to get that, I can load this save file, or, I accidentally saved over your 4 hours and 40 minutes progress, sorry. And oh man, I got to play from the very beginning of the game again? Well, no, you have this save, you can go back, you'd only lose an hour of progress. So that was what I was trying to explain a little bit in the previous video. Here's a little bit more detail for that. So I think this is a good place to call it good on the second video here. I hope you were able to still practice the breathing meditation trick. I apologize. I will try to be better about rambling in future videos. It's where I forget to, because ideally I want to interject with reminders for you to say, are you still breathing? And I know you don't need me to keep saying it over and over because you already know the trick. It's very simple. It's not like it's something really complex that you need to memorize or anything. But it is helpful to get reminders to do it, especially when you're new to it, because it's easy to slip back into your stream of mental thoughts and, not be focused on your breathing. It's so easy, and because you've done it for however many years you've been alive, without having to think about it. So. But the more you can focus on your breathing, the more often throughout your day, even if it's just for one breath, and then you go back to doing whatever you were doing, it will bring clarity and peace into your life, just gradually, very, very gradually, one little step at a time. And the more you do it, the more you will think to do it, or be able to remind yourself, oh yeah, I should probably breathe. Focus on my breathing. Am I breathing? How do I know? Well, how do I know? I just check by feeling it. I can feel it. Not just say, oh yeah, of course I'm breathing, and then go back to what I'm doing. That's a thought, and that's not getting out of your head when you do that. But feeling your breath gets you out of your head. It does it pretty miraculously, actually. And anybody can do it. It's real easy. And so I hope you enjoyed the second video, a continuation here. I've covered a lot more now. I feel a little more accomplished as far as being able to have discussed most of the things I want to discuss here. If you are enjoying this, let me know. Leave a comment. Tell me that you're liking watching these videos. If you are, and leave a like. You can subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That would be great. If you enjoy what you're seeing and you'd like to see more, that's a good way to get notified whenever I put out a new video. But I want to know what people are interested in seeing. If you would like me to keep playing Final Fantasy IV, by all means, I can do that. There's going to be more that's going to come up that I haven't explained so far, like other features of the game and things I can talk about. And so if you would like me to do that, let me know, so I have a good sense of that. And otherwise, just thank you for coming along this second journey. You stuck around not only for one video, but two now, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate everyone that's able to enjoy, or even if you're just watching this to relax, if it helps you relax, that's great. And so I'm just going to go back to the title screen here. Thank you for watching, and I will hopefully see you again in the next video. Take care now.